The South Carolina Gamecocks and Coach Steve Spurrier. South Carolina State celebrating their 100th anniversary of football this season. Wouldn't that be a nice feather in their cap? And as you said, is South Carolina looking ahead to next week's game at LSU?
Of course, the Bulldogs are led by Buddy Pugh. He comes back to Columbia, where he was an assistant for 4 years. He has a similar spread offense, but he's got a very dangerous dual-threat quarterback running the show.
Cleveland McCoy, he's a good one, a 3-year starter for the Bulldogs. He's an all-conference player, not a pure passer. In fact, he does a lot of damage with his feet. He's averaging 40 yards per game over his career on the ground.
For the Gamecocks, there might have been potential for a quarterback controversy early on in the year, but that's ancient history after what Blake Mitchell was able to do in Sanford Stadium.
Oh, he had a great ball game coming back for the Gamecocks. 20 out of 31, 174 yards, no touchdowns, but no interceptions, and that's key for Coach Steve Spurrier in his offense. He's a winner, 12-6 in 18 career starts.
All right, let's now send it down to the field for the third member of our broadcasting team, George Rogers.
2 weeks ago, South Carolina didn't play pretty good defense. Last week, played real good defense and upset Georgia. This week, South Carolina State come to town. Casper and Jasper, you got to play good defense if you want to win this game. Let's go Gamecocks.
And thank you very much, George. It's the first meeting ever between these two schools, the Gamecocks and the Bulldogs, and it's coming up next on CSS.
And welcome to Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina. Mike Morgan and Brad Moore with you here this Saturday evening. Glad to have you on board on a special pay-per-view broadcast. The two head coaches for tonight's matchup for South Carolina State, it's Buddy Pugh. What a run he has had in 6 years now in Orangeburg, looking for another MEAC title. And on the other sideline, of course, for the home team, it is Steve Spurrier, becoming the only South Carolina coach to ever beat Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee. 17-10 now at South Carolina. And of course, when you're talking about career records, you're talking about one of the best in SEC history. South Carolina State has won the toss. They have deferred, so the Gamecocks will get the ball first. Carolina coming off a huge victory over the Georgia Bulldogs a week ago. South Carolina State a win off of Bethune-Cookman. First ever meeting between these two schools. They've been talking about it for a long time. It has finally happened in what is the 100th year of football for South Carolina State, year number 114 for South Carolina. And this is game number 419 at Williams-Brice Stadium. Little water cooler stats for you to start things off as the kickoff is fielded at the 15-yard line and pushing forward to the 30 for the Gamecocks, as the Carolina will take over first down and 10 after the return by Melvin Ingram, of all people, on the short kickoff.
Mike might see a couple of short kickoffs this evening as the regular kicker for South Carolina State not in action. Aaron Hare, the punter, taking over the kicking duties, and first time he's kicked off all season.
So Blake Mitchell leads the troops to the line of scrimmage after a fantastic outing a week ago. We'll see now if the consistency can set in for this team. Gamecocks a so-so effort in week one, an outstanding effort in week two. A heavily favored team obviously here in week number 3. Mitchell, 7-step drop, looking over the middle, and he is swallowed up and sacked well behind the line of scrimmage. Big number 91, James Simmons, the junior out of Greenville, in on the sack.
Looks like the protection breaks down right over the right guard. If we take a look at the replay, comes in, looked like just a straight 4-man rush, and comes in over the right guard. That's Garrett Anderson missing the block, and Blake Mitchell never had a chance for South Carolina.
Well, the interior of that offensive line played so well against a very big, physical, and fast Georgia defensive front. But right there on the first play, breaking down, Corey Boyd, the deep back. They give it to Mo Brown on the end around. Brown trying to find some room on the left side. Couple of yards there. It'll be third down and long. Kenyon Brooks, the junior out of Miami, in on the stop. There is that offensive line which played so well a week ago. Meredith is really the leader at left tackle. Sorensen also does a fine job. Brown, Finn, and Garrett Anderson, the sophomore out of Columbia. Skilled players, Corey Boyd, the main weapon on this team, along with Mike Davis, who we'll see. Andy Boyd doing a lot of the dirty work at tight end. Kenny McKinley, the key receiver, but one of the things to look out for tonight, guys, is some other receivers have to start stepping up. It can't all be on Kenny McKinley's shoulders. Mitchell firing deep over the middle. It's picked off near midfield. Here come the Bulldogs. 30, 20, 15, and out of bounds. The first interception of the game, and it is by none other than number 11. That is Marquis Hamblin, a 41-yard return by Marquis Hamblin.
Let's take a look at it. Mitchell had some time. Kenny McKinley looks like he's open across the middle, but he just overthrows this ball. And Hamlin last week had an interception earlier this season. That's an easy pick for him. He's got blockers in front, puts the Bulldogs in good shape.
Now Marquis Hamlin, the MEAC Defensive Player of the Week last week. Brother Michael plays for Clemson. And he is a standout in their secondary. Blake Mitchell making the big mistake which he avoided against the Bulldogs for 4 quarters. Now Cleveland McCoy and company, and already movement on the first play for the Bulldogs. Looks like that's going to be a false start. We'll check the penalty.
Dead ball, illegal snap, number 55, offense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
That's Raymond Harrison, the center, the one starter from Columbia on this Bulldogs team. There's Cleveland McCoy, now in his senior campaign, a Class A football star at Baptist Hills High School. He was recruited primarily on defense, had to talk Buddy Pugh into finally turning him into a quarterback, letting him play the position that he played in high school. McCoy on the keeper, Nathan Pepper, and Casper Brinkley pushing him out of bounds. Starting lineup for the Bulldogs. Again, Raymond Harrison already had his name called. It's an offensive line that's going to be challenged early and often by a number of rotating defensive linemen and linebackers for South Carolina. Will Ford, very talented running back, last year's MEAC Rookie of the Year. McCoy looking over to the state sideline. Bulldogs running that spread. They've got a 5-wide empty backfield look here. A second down and 14 yards. And again, more movement. Now the right tackle, James Lee. He's a redshirt senior out of Belgrade, Florida. But one of the things about this Bulldogs team, Brad, first the call from our referee.
Ball start. Offense, number 78, 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
It's Jeff Roberson, our referee. State certainly plays in some intimidating venues, but maybe the loudness of an 80,000-seat stadium might be something new to them.
And they've had a lot of penalties already this season. They're averaging 10 penalties per ball game.
So backing themselves up another 5, second down and 19. The marker is inside the 2. No score early on. Bulldogs getting the ball after a Blake Mitchell interception. McCoy going to take it himself, and he is quickly wrapped up by Casper Brinkley. Casper Brinkley, one of the studs at the linebacking spot. Eric Norwood, the standout on that defensive line. Nathan Pepper, now an end instead of a tackle. Ajaboy, the true freshman, already making a name for himself on the inside. The Brinkley brothers and Rodney Paulk, all three with outstanding performances against Georgia. And in that secondary, Emmanuel Cook is back. And how about Darian Stewart? Let's see if he can match his performance from a week ago, number 32. He's a sophomore out of Huntsville, Alabama. Here's third down and 17. McCoy, quick drop, penalty flag on the play, throws over the middle, has a man, ball is jarred loose. They say incomplete. Emmanuel Cook was there to try to knock that thing away, but the penalty flag thrown very early, and again, it's against the Bulldogs, the third penalty on this drive.
Illegal motion on the back, moving at the snap. Foul is declined, fourth down.
Take a look and see what Cleveland McCoy's looking at. Receiver slips in just underneath the 2-deep zone underneath, and the ball was there. Just a good hit. Darby unable to hold on to it.
That was Octavius Darby, the tight end, a redshirt junior out of Hollywood, Florida. So now this is going to be interesting. This is the backup kicker. Their starter is suspended for this game. This is Aaron Hare, just a sophomore out of Orangeburg, and it'll be 37 yards on the attempt. And it hits the upright and banks in. How about that? The backup kicker off the upright and through, and the Bulldogs strike first. It's 3-0. Hare, a sophomore out of Orangeburg, same City, of course, as South Carolina State resides, and he's going to have to handle all place kicking and all kicking duties entirely. How nervous he must have been, but he gets it to go. So the Bulldogs strike first here in Columbia. 3-0 our score, and we're back in a moment. Well, the Bulldogs leading things 3-0, and the South Carolina State band ready to strike up a number or two after that first drive. It wasn't exactly pretty, but it is effective as points are on the board. And that man, Buddy Pugh, very happy now in year number 6 with the program. 4 years as the running backs coach. Buddy Pugh, I talked to him earlier in the week. He still kind of kids about the fact he had to endure that 21-game losing streak. Remember, that spanned 2 different coaches, Brad Scott and Lou Holtz. He was one of the few holdovers from the Brad Scott era, but then he also was able to enjoy the 2 Outback Bowl victories. So he saw a little bit of everything, Brad, in his 4 years here in Columbia.
He certainly did. He's enjoying himself in Orangeburg now at South Carolina State, averaging 8 wins per year there. He's doing a great job for the Bulldogs.
The Bulldogs have to feel awfully good about things. A turnover and then 3 points on the board by a backup kicker. And that backup kicker gets it off to about the 7. Here comes a big lane. Now to the right side, and there goes the penalty flag. Still running is Captain Munnerlyn all the way to the Bulldogs 35. And that would be a crying shame. That's the first great return they've had all year, and it's probably going to be sent back. 60 yards on the return by Captain Munnerlyn, but the flag is all the way at the Carolina 35.
During the return, holding, number 35, receiving team, 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul, first down.
And Mike, Steve Spurrier had said during the week he was going to replace some of his special teams players with starters. Of course, Captain Munnerlyn, one of the regular returners, but maybe some other blockers up front that had not been in there. He said he was going to get the Brinkley brothers in there on kickoffs. I'm not sure if that was a starter or one of the special teams regulars guilty of the hold, but Steve Spurrier trying to shake it up on special teams as well.
Well, we're all just going to have to guess on this one because there are 2 35s on the roster, Greg Wright and Jim Hutton. And we're now being told it was Jim Hutton officially the guilty party on that penalty. First play on the drive, it's Corey Boyd with a short gain to the right side. Give him about 3 yards on the carry. Travis Henderson on the tackle. How about this for a scoring drive? 4 plays, -7 yards, 1 minute and 2 off the clock, and you get 3 points out of it.
Now, if you're South Carolina defense, you're taking that as a victory.
2nd down and 8. 2 receivers to the left, I formation. Now Blake Mitchell changing the play at the line of scrimmage. He's going to the air, left side. Has a man, but it's incomplete. That was intended for Larry Freeman. And it's one of the goals of this South Carolina offense today, Brad, get some of these new receivers involved in the game plan.
They have not been able to do it in the first 2 ball games. Ken McKinley, you mentioned, had 13 catches to lead the Gamecocks this season. The 2 running backs and 2 tight ends are the next leading receivers for the Gamecocks. In fact, the rest of the wide receivers for South Carolina only have 6 catches on the season so far.
Larry Freeman is out on the field along with Freddie Brown and Kenny McKinley in a 3-wide set. 3rd down and 8, shotgun formation. Mitchell flares it out right side to Boyd. Boyd tries to stretch forward, but he's going to be well shy of a first down. And so far, 2 drives, the Gamecock offense sputtering. They're going to have to punt it away.
Corey Boyd with his 8th reception of the season. He's one of the 2nd leading receivers for the Gamecocks this year.
So Ryan Suckup onto the field. Everybody knows about his kicking prowess, but his punting so far this year, very good. 42 yards on the average. High spiraling kick. It'll be fielded at the 26, and he'll be immediately brought down. Virtually no gain on the play. And that's number 3, Oliver Trey Young on the return, and Captain Munnerlyn on the tackle. 41-yard punt. So 11-10, make it 11:09 remaining in the first quarter of play. And the Bulldogs leading it by 3-0. They have the football. I'd say so far the first 3-4 minutes of the game, Brad, if you're Buddy Pugh, you couldn't ask for much more than this.
Yeah, you're feeling real good about the way your team has come out, at least right now, even though they only got a field goal out of great field position. They're in the ball game. Their fans are into it. they're having a lot of fun. They brought the entire band here for South Carolina State. It's going to be a great halftime show. This is something they've been looking forward to for a long time.
And South Carolina State has only played one other Division 1A opponent in history, and that came 2 weeks ago against the Air Force. They traveled out there, kind of a lopsided loss in that ball game. This one closer to home, just 40 minutes up I-26. That's how you get to Orangeburg and the South Carolina State campus. And obviously, so many of these young men, many of them are from South Carolina. You got a couple from Columbia, and anytime you get passed over by the big schools, particularly in your own home state, you've got something to prove. You're going to play with a chip on their shoulder, and that's certainly what South Carolina State has done thus far. For the Gamecock defense, I think this is a more important game than maybe some people are thinking. That man, Jasper Brinkley, and the rest of these guys, they don't want to sleepwalk. They want to go ahead and show everybody they can do it consistently. And Brad, they're going to be doing it against a very dangerous quarterback that we highlighted in the open, number 19, Cleveland McCoy.
As we said, he's averaging 40 yards on the ground throughout his career. He's got 12 rushing touchdowns in his career. Struggled a little bit so far this season running the football, and a lot of that has to do with that first game against Air Force, but he is very dangerous, especially when they spread the field for him like he is right now.
He is without his leading receiver as one of the 4 players suspended coming into this game, but Cleveland McCoy has done most of his damage on the ground this year. Second team All-MEAC a year ago. He was first team All-MEAC in 2005. And he will work out of the shotgun again. 5-wide formation, an empty backfield. Perhaps some movement on the line. Yes, indeed. Another penalty flag. Looks like the left tackle, Nathaniel Richardson, moving early. So a whole lot of hankies here in the early going.
Head ball foul. Ball start. Offense, number 79. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Yeah, it was 71. Referee got the wrong number on there. 71 is that man, Nathaniel Richardson, the left tackle. 6'4", 305-pounder out of Mount Pleasant, Londo High School.
He's one of their best, the second-team preseason all-conference lineman.
So that backs him up 5. First down and 15. McCoy with the snap. Heavy pressure from Norwood. Pass is picked off at the 10-5. Touchdown for Nathan Pepper. The big defensive lineman runs into the end zone, and unlike Clemson a year ago, he does not showboat. He goes in there, hands protecting the football, 18 yards for the score.
Oh, it's fun watching a 291-pound lineman rumble down the field. Just a great play by Nathan Pepper. You mentioned the Clemson game had the INT that he fumbled through the end zone. Well, he made up for it this spring at the spring game. He earned the Hustle Award after spring drill, so he really changed his attitude. I think he was really happy that he only had a short way to run this time around, and hopefully he's not injured. Go ahead and take a look at it. Maybe he just needs a little oxygen. We hope that's all. But let's take a look at Pepper coming from the right side. There's the hit, and doesn't see him. Quarterback doesn't hit him. It's an easy stroll to the end zone for the big man. His second interception, going back to last year against Clemson. Let's hope he's okay. He's kind of ginger on that knee right now.
Officially 18 yards on the return. Nathan Pepper appears to be a knee injury. Well, you hate to see that. Scores his first career touchdown, and he gets hurt on the play.
You just hope it wasn't on the celebration as well when everyone was dogpiling on him, but I think he did go down. May have just twisted his knee as he went into the end zone.
We'll take one more look at it here.
Everything's fine, and they seem to tweak it right there.
Again, you mentioned the weight, 291 pounds on that knee, and it just kind of took an awkward step. The extra point by Suckup is true, and the Gamecocks have the lead at 7-3. The defense coming through. Big old Nathan Pepper taking it to the house as the Gamecocks are on the board.
Media wants to thank.
And we're back at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia. The Gamecocks with a 7-3 lead after the defensive touchdown, the first defensive touchdown for the Gamecocks since Coe Simpson, 19 yards on a fumble return against Kentucky in 2005. The last interception for a touchdown. How about Jonathan Joseph, now in the NFL, 42 yards at Georgia, also in the 2005 season. Pretty good kickoff return by Dustin DeBose of South Carolina State. Good field position for the Bulldogs. It's never too late to go back to high school every Friday night on CSS with live high school football. Pre-game coverage begins at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, spotlighting high school football from top schools around the Southeast. Then stay tuned for the live CSS Game of the Week, followed by the post-game show only on CSS. Bulldogs taking over. Travian Robertson, the freshman out of Laurinburg, North Carolina, in for the injured Nathan Pepper now. He's number 42. Bulldogs taking over at the 37-yard line. Gave us to the left side. A modest gain for Will Ford, the sophomore out of Travelers Rest, last year's MEAC Rookie of the Year. 10 total points in this ball game, and we've only had 7 yards of total offense between the two schools. That is hardly a thing of beauty if you're an offensive coordinator, but if you're on the defensive side, it's exactly what you hoped for.
Well, defense wins championships, right?
Absolutely. There's McCoy sprinting out to the right side. Another penalty flag thrown. Emmanuel Cook cuts him down. And we'll see if this is another penalty on the Bulldogs. They've already got 3. And it looks like it's going to be a hold. Survey says.
Pick a number.
Holding. Offense, number 78. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. 3-play second down.
That's the right tackle, James Lee. Their tackles so far, Brad, really having a tough time holding, or they're having an easy time holding. They're having a tough time containing the ends of South Carolina.
And that's another preseason all-conference player for South Carolina State. So the bookend tackles, as you said, really struggling here in the early going for the Bulldogs.
Got a good look there. Travian Robertson, he's got to be excited now. Looks like he's going to play a number of snaps this ball game with the injured Nathan Pepper. A lot of running room on the left side for the Bulldogs, taken all the way past the 45-yard line. Travian Robertson in on the stop. That is Will Ford once again. Ford led the team last year with 10 touchdowns.
Hey, he's a good one. As you said last year, averaging nearly 5 yards per carry. Does a good job of finding a hole on the left side. Started to his right, moved back to his left, and just outran the South Carolina defenders for a good game.
It's 15 yards on the carry, sets up a 3rd down and 3. McCoy trying to get everybody on the same page. Play clock ticking down to 6 seconds. He gets it off. Option play to the right side, and he is swallowed up. Darian Stewart in on another tackle. What a game he had a week ago against the Bulldogs. 9 tackles, 2 pass breakups. Look out for Darian Stewart, sophomore out of Huntsville, Alabama.
He's a good one. Looked like we had another penalty against South Carolina State. So the Gamecocks will promptly decline and take the ball.
You'd have a 4th down and 2. And they're still talking things over down there on the field. Now the linesman wants to make sure whether or not they're going to decline it, and he'll relay it to our referee, and he'll relay the penalty to us.
Chop block. Offense, number 52. Declined. 4th down.
So the Bulldogs will punt it away. Take another look at the chop block here.
Just out of the screen there, you see 76 looked like, but they may have called it on someone else. I think 4 of the starting 5 offensive linemen already had a penalty on them for South Carolina State, so they're all getting their name called.
So Captain Munnerlyn lined up at about the 10 to receive the punt. Pretty good pressure, does get it away. Munnerlyn backing up, and he'll wisely let it bounce into the end zone. The Gamecocks will take over 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line with 9:21 remaining in the first quarter. The Gamecocks leading it 7-3. That last drive by the South Carolina State Bulldogs ending in a hurry. A lot of penalties, obviously, the issue there. In fact, the Bulldogs, 7 offensive plays thus far. They've had 6 penalties. 2 of them have been declined, but still, Brad, this Bulldog team has to stop shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, most of it on the offensive line. Don't know if they're just trying to get a little extra jump, but they're really struggling against the experienced defensive line and all the depth that South Carolina has in their defensive line. It could be a long day if that keeps up.
Mike Davis now in the backfield for the Gamecocks. And he'll get it off a left tackle, but he is devoured right at the line of scrimmage. A host of South Carolina State defenders in on the stop. Mike Davis, great start to this season. He's averaging 6.2 yards a carry, and that's with a long of only 18, which is kind of an amazing thing. A model of consistency. No really big run, no home runs yet, but he never gets caught behind the line of scrimmage, always manages to surge forward. And he's had a really solid start to this 07 campaign. Now Blake on 2nd down, looking to pass. Flushed out of the pocket, looks over the middle, complete. At the 35, the 40, near midfield, that is the tight end, Jared Cook. Jared Cook, who came in with 4 catches for 57 yards.
Let's take a look at Blake Mitchell here. Feels the pressure, moves away, gets a good block by Garrett Anderson, the guard. They buy him some time. Mitchell using his feet, finds the open receiver, and a big gain for the Gamecocks.
LaQuinn Ellerby on the coverage there, the sophomore out of Lamar. 26 yards on that hookup, and Jared Cook's the kind of guy that could have a big game tonight if they go to him. And 4 catches coming in. He only had 6 catches all of last year, so he's 1 off his season total from a year ago. And now Blake Mitchell, some confusion at the line, forced to call a timeout.
South Carolina, first timeout of the first half. This will be a 30-second timeout.
Gamecocks with an early 7-3 lead here from Williams-Brice Stadium. And we're back in a moment.
And don't forget, the Philadelphia 76ers and the New York Knicks will play at the Colonial Center on October 8th. Tickets available, and Ronaldo will be there.
Mike Morgan, Brad Moore with you here from Williams-Brice Stadium. The Gamecocks an early 7-3 lead midway through the first quarter of play. Mitchell has time, fires deep over the middle. It is incomplete, but there is the penalty flag. Mo Brown was the intended target. Brown with that blazing speed, and I'm not sure if Phillip Adams could catch up to him without committing the foul. Adams, a sophomore out of Rock Hill, in on the coverage for the Bulldogs. They've been trying to hit Mo Brown on this route for a couple weeks now. Hasn't worked yet.
Holding, defense, number 9, 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
And it is indeed Phillip Adams on the hold. So automatic first down for the Gamecock offense. And they'll move up to the 45 of the Bulldogs. 3 wide look for Carolina. And an I formation behind Blake Mitchell. Jason Barnes is into the game for the Gamecocks. Here's Davis weaving his way past the 40, and he's lassoed down at the 36-yard line. Mike Davis brought down by Phillip Adams. Brad, a nice job here, not only by Davis, but by that offensive line to create some running room on the left side.
And they need to create some running room. They've outsized this defensive line considerably. They're playing against a much smaller defensive line in South Carolina State. Gamecocks have 3 players in their starting lineup over 300 pounds, and they've got to find a way to blow some holes open in this smaller defensive front.
That's John Hunt, the offensive line coach. He's been part of Steve Spurrier's crew for a while as Mitchell fires deep. He has Brown. He dropped it. Oh, my my goodness. Mo Brown had a gift, and he was not ready to receive it. That was shades of Jared Cook a year ago against Auburn.
And in the preseason, Coach Spurrier had said they need Mo Brown to be their deep threat this year. Of course, they lose their big threat from last year in Sidney Rice going to the NFL. And you take a look at it, he gets behind the two defenders and just simply lets it go off his shoulder pads, doesn't bring it into his hands. Perfect pass by Blake Mitchell under pressure.
You cannot throw that ball any better than Blake just did. Not only on the money, a perfect spiral, past the two defenders, and Brown still looking for his first career touchdown. He had it right there. 3rd and short. Give us to Mike Davis, the up back, past the 30, and down at about the 28-yard line. So the Gamecocks do get the first down. Mo Brown's going to be thinking about that last pass for the rest of the night if he's unable to atone at some point during this game.
And let's see how long it takes for the Gamecocks to try to go back to him and get him some confidence.
Blake Mitchell, very quietly, Blake Mitchell is doing some things that have never been done. Of course, he's 12-6 as a starter, which is a very good record. He's defeated some incredible teams in his career, including Georgia last week, Florida, Tennessee, Clemson, beat Houston in the bowl game. Mitchell looking deep again, now he's going to dump it underneath, and that is caught by 47. That's Patrick DeMarco, the fullback, freshman out of Lake Brantley, Florida. And talk about an athletic family, the DeMarcos. His cousin is in the Baltimore Orioles organization. His uncle is indeed Chris DeMarco of the PGA Tour. I wonder if DeMarco is a scratch golfer.
Must be some interesting conversation around the Thanksgiving Day table.
I would imagine so. DeMarco really impressed the coaching staff during the fall. Came out of nowhere as Davis is gobbled up in a hurry. Nothing doing there on the left side. Ricky Young, one of the many Bulldog defenders, plugging the hole on that play. But DeMarco is a guy really did not expect to play a whole lot. Leonard Stafford, of course, is the best blocking back on this team. You also have Brian Kingery. But Patrick DeMarco trying to get some more playing time. Here's a 3rd down and 6 from the 25-yard line. Mitchell flushed out, tries to throw short, pass is deflected and caught by Davis, but that's going to be well shy of a first down. And Ryan Suckup will come on to the field and try to attempt another field goal.
Well, Mitchell was feeling some pressure. Davis open for a minute, but Mitchell unable to get the ball to him in time. And by the time he does release, he's got a couple of defenders in his face in the deflection.
Well, Ryan Suckup coming off a pretty solid week. SEC Special Teams Player of the Week with his 3 field goals against the Bulldogs, and just about all 3 of them were perfect. This will be from 40, a chip shot for Suckup. Here comes the kick. And it's good. So the Gamecocks take the lead 10-3.
And Ryan Suckup, as you said, converting on the field goal. Red zone scores for the Gamecocks, now 9 for 9 on the season. Suckup's contributed with the field goals, of course, but that's good news, at least for the Gamecocks. They've struggled a lot on 3rd downs, but when they get in the red zone, the Gamecocks are scoring points.
So this game got off to a little bit of a rocky start, some sloppiness from both teams on offense. Gamecocks now trying to find their way. You'd love to have the touchdown there for Steve Spurrier. A perfectly executed play, obviously the right play call. Mo Brown on a deep post got open, but unable to hold on to the football as the other receivers, not named McKinley, have struggled a bit. Now, Buddy Pugh, former South Carolina assistant, running backs coach for 4 years, had the likes of Derek Watson, Andrew Pinnock, and Ryan Brewer under his tutelage during that time period. Ryan Suckup about to kick it off. He is 50% this year with a touchback ratio. 50% of his kickoffs have resulted in a touchback, which has got to be one of the best in the country. This is another one that should be a touchback, but they're going to take it out. It's Dubose going to the left side, and it turns out to be a good decision, except for yet another penalty flag. Scoring drive for the Gamecocks. We'll get to that in just a moment. First, the flag, which...
During the return, illegal block in the back. Number 56, the receiving team, half the distance to the goal, first down.
56, Julius Wilkerson, the freshman linebacker out of Gaffney. 9 plays on that scoring drive, 57 yards, 4 minutes and 35 seconds off the clock. That's pretty long for a Steve Spurrier drive. And of course, it culminates in a 40-yard field goal for the All-American kicker Ryan Suckup, who just continues to impress week after week. Bulldogs going to be hearing it from the crowd. It's the south end zone to Cleveland McCoy's back. Little traffic there in the backfield as McCoy trying to turn the corner, bumped out of bounds at the 10-yard line by Captain Munnerlin after a modest gain.
It was a good job of stringing this play out. Again, that's something the Gamecocks struggled with in their season opener against Louisiana Lafayette. And they're able to contain the quarterback. And check the replay here. Watch somebody get whacked here on the sideline. An innocent bystander is taken down. He popped right back to his feet, though, and lost his cap, but hopefully he's all right down there. You got to pay attention. It's rough out there.
McCoy has to take the snap off the ground, and a lot of running room there on the right side for Will Ford. Will Ford finally tripped up by Emmanuel Cook, and that is the first down for the Bulldogs tonight.
Will Ford, good little runner. You watch here. Great job by the quarterback McCoy to pick up the snap. As you said, he finds a hole in the right side, and he's just quick, ducks under a couple of tacklers, picks up a nice gain for the Bulldogs.
So 1st and 10 from the 21. A little bit more breathing room now for the Bulldogs attack. Again, he's got to take it off the ground and is swallowed up by 3 Garnet jerseys, including Jasper Brinkley, who leads the team with 14 tackles coming in.
McCoy did a good job just to get out of the grasp of Casper Brinkley, who almost had him for about a 5-yard loss.
Cleveland McCoy is going to have a few words with his center, Raymond Harrison, if he doesn't start snapping it a little bit higher. 2nd down, 9 yards to go. Out of the gun, it's McCoy. This time the snap is on the money. The give is up the middle. And a solid gain there for the Bulldogs. Jonathan Woods on the carry. Don't miss Talking Football Sunday night. It's the ultimate football show for the ultimate football fan. Get all the engaging discussions, player interviews, and live viewer calls. If you want to stay on the pulse of college football this year, tune in every Sunday at 8, only on CSS. Here's a 3rd down and 5. Gamecocks did a great job against Georgia on 3rd down defensively. Really the story of the game in a lot of ways. McCoy again has to pick it up off the grass and throws it away.
The center, Raymond Harrison, just not giving his quarterback a chance to run the designated plays just on that drive. 3 snaps were down on the turf. They may want to consider working out of the shotgun if that continues.
Trey Young was the only receiver even in the neighborhood, but again, you've got enough pressure as it is trying to fend off this Gamecock defensive line. You can't keep snapping it on the ground if you want to have some success offensively. Cleveland McCoy had to worry too much about just getting the ball in his hands. So the Bulldogs will punt it away. Almost a block there. Boy, that's as close as the Gamecocks have come to a block punt in a long time. Ball goes out of bounds, no return. But 35, Jim Hutton getting in there and nearly had it.
And Aaron Hare does a good job just to get it off. As you said, he's averaging, coming into the ballgame, 44 yards for a punt. Just did a good job to have that one go in the right direction for the Bulldogs.
Only 15 yards on the punt, no return. Gamecocks with great field position. Under 3 minutes remaining in the first quarter, the Gamecocks with a 10-3 lead. Corey Boyd back in the game as the lone back in a 4-wide set. Mitchell under duress and tripped up at about the line of scrimmage. They might give him a half a yard, so that will avoid an official sack there. Raphael Bush, number 30, trips him up.
Some missed assignments there by the Gamecock offensive line as a couple of Bulldogs looked like they had a free run at Blake Mitchell. He did a good job just to turn that into a somewhat positive gain.
Second down and a long 9. Mitchell flares it out low to Boyd. He hauls it in anyway. Tries to jump out of a tackle. Can't do it. Goes down at the 35-yard line. And it'll set up a third down and short. Tony White, the linebacker for the Bulldogs out of Seneca, South Carolina, in on the stop.
Well, if Boyd could have avoided the one tackler, may have broken that one all the way. Got a great block downfield from his wide receiver, Freddie Brown, who stayed with his man, but Boyd unable to shake the other tackler.
Freddie Brown is in the game at the top of your screen here. Here comes the pass on its low. And that one just off the mark. Intended for Mo Brown. So Blake and Mo having a hard time hooking up here tonight.
It's been a tough night so far for Blake Mitchell and the receiving corps. We saw the drop that should have been a touchdown earlier in the end zone, and a couple of underthrown passes here by Blake Mitchell.
It was actually Larry Freeman, the intended target there. Second ball thrown his way, and he still is looking for his first catch as a Gamecock receiver. None of these newcomers have made a reception so far. Nick Prochak into the game for the Gamecocks. Mitchell throws quick, caught inside the 30 by McKinley and out of bounds at the 22 for a first down as the Gamecocks go for it on 4th and 4. And when in doubt, find your money man, Kenny McKinley.
He's such a good one. The second leading receiver from last season. He's the leading receiver this year. You take a look at it. Designed rollout here from Mitchell will give him a couple extra seconds. And there's McKinley finding a soft spot underneath. Picks up enough for the first down.
Prochak stays into the game at tight end on the right side. 3-wide set. Mitchell gives to Boyd. Boyd trying to turn the corner, now cuts it back upfield, past the 15 and down at the 12, right near the marker. Raphael Bush, another tackle for the sophomore out of Williston. Corey Boyd starting to heat up on this drive.
Corey Boyd averaging a little better than 4 yards per carry, but sometimes you wonder how he's not averaging a lot more. It seems like it always takes more than one man to bring him down.
And they always seem to be tough yards with Corey Boyd. Seems like he's always got to break an initial tackle near the line of scrimmage. First down, 10 yards to go. Mitchell throws toward the end zone. McKinley, touchdown! Kenny McKinley on the corner route. Throw right on the money by Blake Mitchell. Ellerby on the coverage, but McKinley too quick for him. Second touchdown of the night for Carolina, and it's 16-3 with the extra point pending.
And a great job by Blake Mitchell. He delivers this ball before Kenny McKinley has ever turned his head, and he actually made his turn on his route. As soon as he turns his head, the ball is right there in his hands. Great job by Blake Mitchell.
How about the block by Corey Boyd on that play as well? Staying in, upending the Bulldogs defender, giving him just enough time as Suckup drills the extra point. 17-3, our score with 47 seconds remaining in the first quarter of play.
Go ahead and take another look at it here as Mitchell just lofts this one up. McKinley gets by his man, one-on-one coverage. He turned his head, and there's the ball right in his arms. Take a look at Blake Mitchell again. Off the back foot and just able to get underneath it, let McKinley run underneath it. Easy play, pitch and catch for the Gamecocks.
Blake Mitchell again 12-6 as a starter. I mentioned some of the victories that he's already had. As you look at the scoring drive, 6 plays, 41 yards. This one a little more economical time-wise. Under 2 minutes off the drive. Mitchell to McKinley for 12 yards. Blake Mitchell has a chance to become the most accurate passer in school history. He came into this game 61.4%. Steve Tannehill has the school record of 60.5%. He's also likely to finish as one of 6 quarterbacks in Gamecock history to throw more touchdowns than interceptions. So very quietly, Blake Mitchell is putting together a pretty good resume.
Well, he is a quiet quarterback, you're right, and a lot different than Steve Tannehill, who did things with a lot of noise behind him.
Less than quiet. Here's the kickoff. Bounces at the 15, fielded inside the 10. Again, it's Dubose to the right side, and look out. He's got a lot of room. Past midfield and finally pushed out of bounds. But Dubose finding a whole lot of running room. Marvin Sapp there to finally meet him. 44 yards on that kickoff return.
And that's again a problem for Coach Dave Spurrier. Watch the replay here. A short kick, strangely by Suckup. They move to the right. Watch the block by number 20, Ricky Young, that frees him up down the sideline. Gets the extra yards, and the special teams woes continue for the Gamecocks.
Steve Spurrier has to be asking, what do we have to do to finally get it all together on special teams? For years and years, the problem around here was not having a good kicker. Finally have a great kicker, but everything else on the special teams has been, well, let's just say adventurous. Will Ford with a solid run before he's tackled by Emmanuel Cook, who remarkably came back from appendectomy surgery just 2 weeks after the procedure and played in that Georgia game. Didn't start, but was in on a number of key plays. So the clock will tick down to triple zeros here as the first quarter will come to a close. The Gamecocks leading the Bulldogs by a count of 17-3. Second quarter coming your way from Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, and you're watching CSS. Second down and 4 for the Bulldogs as we begin the second quarter of play. South Carolina, South Carolina State meeting for the first time in history on the gridiron. McCoy sprinting out to the left-hand side, but he's not going to be able to get away from Cliff Matthews, the freshman out of Cheraw, South Carolina, 6'4", 235-pounder, number 83, Cliff Matthews. That's what they love about him, Brad, his speed. And
Gotta love the depth of the South Carolina defensive line. He comes in, makes a great play right off the bat. And for South Carolina defensive line coach Brad Long, he likes to see that. He works a lot of players in and out during the range of a ball game, and the youngster making a big play there.
And again, if you joined us late, Nathan Pepper scored a touchdown on an interception, but he hurt his knee on the play. So look for Travian Robertson and number 83 Cliff Matthews to play a lot here tonight as yet another penalty flag halts a South Carolina State snap here.
Dead ball foul. False start. Offense, number 71. 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
Again, that's the left tackle, Nathaniel Richardson. Richardson and Lee, the two tackles, have been flagged on multiple occasions so far tonight. Back him up. Sets up a third down and 15. McCoy, 6'2", 210-pound senior. Back to pass, flares it out right side, caught at the 40. And down at the 50, Darian Stewart in on the tackle. Pass was caught by Will Ford.
Looks like the Bulldogs were setting up a screen on either side and didn't fool the Gamecocks. You saw the big rush up the middle as the linemen released, but good pursuit on the outside as well by the Gamecock defense.
That last penalty, incidentally, on the Bulldogs, the 7th of the night. There's Brad Lawing, the defensive line coach. You know, last year Brad Lawing said the defensive line he had to work with was the smallest he ever had in coaching. But he's got a bigger unit. He's got a more athletic unit, certainly a deeper unit. This punt could be blocked. I don't know how to describe that one, but it looked like both feet were off the ground when he kicked that one away, and it might have gone all of a yard or two. We'll get the official 8 yards for Aaron Hare.
We'll take a look at it here is Aaron Hare. He's had a couple of moments here. Again, the snap was a little bit low. 2 Gamecock defenders right in his face. He's lucky just to get that off. That's the second time he's almost had one blocked today, and he's had to pull double duty. But this is his normal job, punting, and he's having a tough night.
Last 2 punts, 15 yards and 8 yards. Melvin Ingram was extremely close to getting a block there. But even on the bad snap, Gamecocks unable to come away with the block as the Gamecocks will take over 1st down and 10. New quarterback on this drive will be Tommy Beecher, a sophomore out of Concord, North Carolina. Tommy Beecher was very impressive in week 1 against Lafayette. Time of possession, Gamecocks have an edge there. Beecher, first pass is high, intended for Mike Davis, and now a late flag thrown.
They get a late hit here against the Bulldogs as Beecher was flat on his back well after the pass.
The Bulldogs are killing themselves right now with penalties.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Number 91 on the defense. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. 1st down.
It's James Simmons here.
Here's the hit. Beecher trying to just put this ball over the rush, and the little shove there at the end, I guess, is what got it. They'll protect the quarterback. Beecher went down hard, and Gamecocks pick up a 1st down on the penalty.
That's really a killer because obviously you didn't need it. Secondly, it would have been 2nd down and 10. Now it's 1st down, 15 yards. You move the ball into Bulldogs territory. That's the 8th penalty on State for 63 yards. Gamecocks have only been flagged once thus far. Gamecocks up by 2 touchdowns. 1st down and 10. Beecher, 7-step drop. Throws toward the far sideline, and that one is hauled in. Larry Freeman with his first career catch. The junior out of Fort Meade, Florida.
Let's take a look at it here. Beecher gets hammered again. Watch this. He's able to put enough air underneath it, and look at the grab by Larry Freeman near the sideline. 1st down, Gamecocks. Look at him get nailed there, but still able to pop back up. Good start for Beecher and the Gamecocks.
Now, Larry Freeman is a guy that a lot of people thought would emerge as that number 2 receiver for Kenny McKinley. Hasn't happened yet. Maybe that will get some confidence going, get him on the right track. 1st and 10, ball spotted, 26. Mitchell tries to dump it, Beecher tries to dump it to Davis, but it's deflected. The long arms of Cedric Lloyd, 6'5", 255-pound junior out of Manning.
for Coach Steve Spurrier, you're just glad to see a receiver catch a ball other than Kenny McKinley. That's been the struggle all season long, as we talked about earlier. It's good to see the quarterbacks looking for him and able to make big catches to get the Gamecocks down the field.
So it'll be a 2nd down and 10. Corey Boyd, the lone back. Andy Boyd, the tight end, is split in the slot to the left, and now a timeout called. As the play clock was ticking down, Gamecocks will talk about it. 12:53 remaining in the first half of play. The Gamecocks leading it 17-3.
Wines and Wireless in South Carolina. Just
2nd down and 10. Beecher back to pass. Tries to throw a little pass to the left side. That will be incomplete. It was a forward pass, or maybe it wasn't. Now they're saying they're calling it a fumble. And we're going to get another look at this. Keon Brooks in on the play for State.
Yeah, this is going to be considered a lateral, at least in the official's eyes. It slips out of his hand, and alertly the Bulldogs pick it up, intended for Corey Boyd. And we'll take a look at it again from behind as Beecher looks to throw. It slips out of his hand with the pressure on, and can't really tell from that angle if it was forward or not. And I think they're going to take a look at it upstairs.
You know, from here, and we never have the best view in the world from up here in this press box, but it looked like it was forward. Now the question then becomes, are they calling it that he just lost control of the ball and the ball went forward, or are they saying?
Well, let's see if his arm is moving forward as the ball comes out of his hand.
Syndrome here.
Well, the arm's definitely moving forward. It is slipping out as it's coming forward, and that's probably a judgment call there, and you still can't tell if it's forward or a lateral. Take another look. He comes loose out of his hand, and I think that may be a fumble.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. He never had it. The ball went forward. That's what confused me initially. But again, it can't be a pass.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It is a fumble. 1st down.
Yeah, it can't be a forward pass if he doesn't have it, doesn't have control of it in his hand as he's going forward, and clearly Beecher did not. You know, we saw that happen to Blake Mitchell a couple of times last week. He got away with it, though, where the ball just slipped out, and it was kind of a joke, but in a way it was serious. William Brown, the center, had to keep changing his pants during the game because of the sweat pouring on, and sometimes that condensation would get onto the football and the ball would slip out of Blake's hands. So
it's not any cooler tonight.
Exactly. Might need to get another extra few pairs of pants. So Bulldogs will try to take advantage of the 2nd Gamecock turnover of the night. A Blake Mitchell interception and now a Tommy Beecher fumble. Here's McCoy. Completes the pass, a stumbling grab out of bounds at the 39-yard line. That's Spencer Miller, the tight end, who also starts at fullback for the Bulldogs, a redshirt senior.
And his 3rd catch of the year. They dump it off over in the flat, just trying to pick up. Well, that's a nice gain on 1st down, actually. Bulldogs have not had too many big plays on 1st down. They've had a lot of penalties, losing yards almost every time.
2nd and 5. Jonathan Woods, the tailback now for State, and he gets it. It goes straight up the gut. And he'll have 1st down yardage before Casper Brinkley brings him down.
And a huge hole on that left side of the South Carolina State offensive line. They spread the field with 5 receivers and really stretches things out.
Will Ford back into the game for State. 1st down and 10 from the 46. Gamecocks showing a 4-man rush on the line. Quarterback keeps it, tries to spin out of a tackle, muscles forward to about the 49-yard line. That'll set up a 2nd down and 7 before Ajaboy and Hall brings him down.
Designed run all the way as you see the left tackle pulling to the right side to try to pick up a linebacker and clear out. He misses Brinkley, and McCoy Gets his feet tangled up, still able to fall forward.
2nd and 7. McCoy throws high, has a chance to be picked off, and it is. Captain Munnerlyn off the deflection. Pass was intended for Young, and Captain Munnerlyn at the right place at the right time makes a nice play.
His 3rd career interception, had 2 last season. That good speed, he makes a nice break on the ball as we watch it here from behind. Pressure up the middle. Ball is tipped by the Bulldogs receiver, and again Munnerlyn with that great speed, able to break on it and pick up the turnover for the Gamecocks.
Like a center fielder in baseball, the biggest challenge there, not to trap the ball. Captain Munnerlyn makes a nice play with his hands. Tommy Beecher stays in the game at quarterback for Carolina. He'll work under center. Empty backfield. Beecher has time, fires a dart over the middle, and it is intercepted right into the hands of number 29 for South Carolina State. That's LaQuinn Ellerby, and now they say incomplete.
Remember, Beecher almost had a couple of picked off in the season opener against Louisiana Lafayette, and both the times the Raging Cajuns dropped a couple of sure interceptions, so Beecher escapes that time, but well overthrown, had a man open across the middle.
Boy, escapes is the operative word. Just got a piece of the ground before going into the hands, otherwise that would have been another turnover, would have been the 3rd for this Gamecock offense. You see 2 turnovers on each side, now a penalty flag, and this is getting the least bit ugly here in the first half of play.
Dead ball foul. Ball start. Offense number 84. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
They could understand South Carolina State maybe being a little nervous coming into this ball game, the largest crowd they're playing in front of, but the Gamecocks not looking sharp on their home field.
Jared Cook called for a false start. We don't normally see a tight end flag for that. Only the 2nd penalty of the night on the Gamecocks. 2nd down and 15 now. Beecher settles in under center. Straight drop, fires, complete. Mo Brown.
Mo Brown just sits down in front of the defense and waits for the ball. Beecher a little late getting it there, but as Brown just sat down in front of the defender, able to make the catch for a nice gain for South Carolina.
3rd down and 2. They're trying a quick snap here. Beecher trying to find some daylight on the left side. He's pushed back, and he'll be shy of the 1st down. Tony White plugging the hole for the Bulldogs. Now, we mentioned that man earlier, John Hunt, the offensive line. He was the offensive line coach for a number of years at Florida under Steve Spurrier, then followed Coach Spurrier to the Washington Redskins, and then again stayed with Coach Spurrier to Columbia and South Carolina. And obviously Steve Spurrier has a lot of respect for him as the Gamecocks go for it on 4th and short, and if he gives him that left foot spot, he's got it.
This is the 6th time this season the Gamecocks have gone for it on 4th down, 2nd time tonight.
And it is indeed a 1st down for the Gamecock offense.
Take a look at it here, nothing fancy, no one over the center. Beecher just pushes ahead and is able to pick up the 1st down by half foot.
And now the referees whistle this one dead. They could review a measurement. You can. That is a play that is reviewable. If they decide to tell us what exactly they're doing, I think that's what Buddy Pugh is saying. Can we review that measurement? Now, he can challenge it if he wants.
South Carolina State is challenging the ruling on the field. The previous play is under further review.
And there you go. So that'll give our boys in the truck a chance to show that play a couple of more times. He certainly didn't gain much, but it's going to be so hard to overturn this decision here.
Here's the look at it again. No one over the center, although the linebacker comes up hard. Beecher a little late moving forward, steps back, then steps forward. And hard to tell from that angle where exactly the ball ended up. kind of have to eyeball it as the officials come in from the sideline to spot it.
And keep in mind, the replay official is going to be looking at the same angles that we are showing you. So far on that, there's no way you could change the call.
Look at it one more time, and really can't tell. You can't even really see Beecher as the scrum in the middle there. He's swallowed up by the host of Bulldog defenders.
What Beecher has in his favor on that play is he fell forward.
Yeah.
And he didn't get a whole lot of surge from the left side of that line, but he did fall forward. And from those angles, I don't think there's any way that Jeff Roberson is going to be able to overturn this. Of course, he's waiting for the cue from the replay official upstairs in our lovely press box up here. But again, I just doubt that they'll be able to overturn this here. The DV Sport, you see that on the headphones there of Mr. Roberson. That's the complex system they have. I've seen it actually snuck in a couple of times, those replay booths. Sometimes they have as many as 9 monitors, and the technology is amazing, but there's just not going to be anything on a play like that where you're going to be able to say, no, he didn't gain the necessary 9 inches or whatever it was.
Exactly right. Buddy Pugh having a little smile on the sideline for South Carolina State. He's been a lot of fun to hear this week. A lot of quotes. They've been making a big deal out of this game, as you might expect, the first time these two teams have met in football. He's very entertaining. In fact, he says, hey, I'm a South Carolina fan, so he was enjoying coming here to play.
Sure.
Says he roots for the Gamecocks, of course, not tonight when his team is playing against them, but he's been a lot of fun.
Well, and the way I look at it, I mean, if you're Buddy Pugh, there's not much bad that can come out of a game like this. Nobody is expecting you to win. Nobody's even expecting it to be close. You've got a chance to pull off a miracle. If not, your guys are getting valuable experience against an SEC opponent. And oh, by the way, there's a pretty healthy paycheck that gets cut when you make a trip to an SEC school like this. So it's a win-win in so many ways.
And he had a great quote about that earlier in the week. He talked about it's not about the money for us. He says it's more about the preparation and the actual competition against the people who are bigger and better than us. And he just says, I hope we can become better ourselves as a result of it.
But he won't turn down that check, right?
No.
I know I wouldn't. Well, I don't know why it's taking exactly this long, but one of the many complaints of instant replay is that, you know, the initial goal was to get it, to have a verdict within 90 seconds. Obviously, we're past 90 seconds now, and I'd be shocked if this was overturned, but you can't blame Buddy Pugh. It's worth a shot. You only lose a timeout if you're wrong, so that would, South Carolina State's got all 3 for the first half. That would again fall under the nothing to lose category.
After review,
And if nothing else, his defense gets a little bit of rest here against that big offensive line.
Ball carrier did not reach the 42-yard line.
Wow.
42-yard line was the line to gain. It was 4th down. It becomes South Carolina State's ball short of the 42-yard line. South Carolina State is not charged.
They did reverse it.
How about that? Well, let's take one more look at it. They need the 42.
Across the 41, and from there, maybe, just don't know it. I'm kind of shocked it was overturned.
I tell you what, if they're looking at the same 2-3 angles we are, somebody's got immaculate eyesight, and we're told that those are the same exact views that the guys in the instant replay booth were looking at and mulling over for such a long time. So a break for South Carolina State. Instant replay in full effect here at Williams-Brice Stadium. Bulldogs football with under 10 minutes remaining in the first half of play, and yet another penalty flag.
If this is against the Bulldogs, they're going to be at their average before halftime for penalties in the game. They came in averaging 10 per ball game.
Dead ball foul. False start. Offense, number 80. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
It's Matt Washington, a wide receiver, called for a false start. They've got enough problems with their tackles. This is Malcolm Long, and he's a freshman out of Gaffney. He was Mr. Football in South Carolina last year. They think he is going to be a real good quarterback. Again, McCoy is a senior, so this offense will belong to Malcolm Long for the next 3 years. Long fires over the middle, and a nice leaping catch by Dustin Dubose, who's only 5'8", but he got up there.
And he avoids the blitz coming from the far side. Coming in his first play, we take a look at it. Up under center, gets a good snap this time. 2 defenders on the blitz from the right side and still able to get the pass complete even though it's a short gain.
2nd down and 8. Give is to Will Ford. Guts it up the middle for a yard. It'll be 3rd and long.
Ford quietly having a pretty good night. 5 carries, getting close to 40 yards.
SC State going no huddle here. Trying to catch the defense off guard, and that pass is batted down at the line of scrimmage. Cliff Matthews gets his big paw up there.
Second time we've called his name tonight. Again, the depth of the defensive line for South Carolina.
Catch Sports Night weekdays at 6 and 11 p.m. Eastern Time for a fast break debate of the hottest sports stories in the Southeast and the biggest sports celebrities. Get the latest information on all your local teams with Sports Night only on CSS. Bulldogs about to punt it away. Aaron Hare, his last 2 punts, 15 yards and 8 yards. And a rugby style it and almost got that one blocked. Takes a couple of tricky bounces. Munderland's going to field it inside the 20 and immediately wrapped up at the 21-yard line. Gamecocks still in the lead, 17-3, and we're back after a few. With Brad Muller and George Rogers roaming the sidelines, Mike Morgan back with you here at Williams-Brice Stadium. That man, Steve Spurrier, up by 2 touchdowns, but not totally thrilled with what he has seen thus far. He'll like this run, however. Corey Boyd picks up about 8 yards on 1st down and 10. Another tackle for Phillip Adams, the sophomore out of Rock Hill, alongside Ricky Young, freshman out of Augusta for the Bulldogs.
That's all Corey Boyd, nothing up the middle, just bounces it out to the right side, able to pick up a big gain of almost 8 or 9 yards on 1st down.
Pretty impressive number on Corey Boyd, and even more impressive when you consider the company he's in with that stat. Stanley Pritchett, Brandon Bennett, and Harold Green, the only other 3 guys to ever do it. Boyd weaving his way, a nice shifty move at about the 35, and he finally goes down at the 43-yard line.
Same type of play, bounces it, starts on the left side, and bounces out to the right side as we take a look at it. Nothing right up the gut. He's able to bounce it out to the right side, finds a nice hole, makes a couple of moves, and as always, Corey Boyd falling forward when he hits the ground.
And Corey Boyd, to me, his best asset, and he's got plenty of good ones, he can stop on a dime. He put a move on a Georgia defender last week. Left his jack on the ground. Another carry for Corey Boyd. This could be the Corey Boyd drive. Steve Spurrier, I don't think, thrilled with his quarterback play in this game thus far, and a huge hole on this play, Brad.
Yeah, take a look at it from behind here as Boyd gets a nice block straight up the gut there. Avoids one tackler across, avoids another tackler here, and again, he's always moving forward. William Brown in the center, and the guards, Garrett Anderson, making good blocks up front.
Boyd untouched till he got to the secondary. 5 carries, 46 yards. Now a deep throw into double coverage, and it is intercepted by Phillip Adams. Now, Steve Spurrier is not going to be thrilled with that throw at all. No. Intended for Mo Brown.
Exactly, and he's in double coverage as you called. The safety came over, easy play for him. Came over to help, and just not a smart throw there by Tommy Beecher. Should probably look for something underneath. Just kind of a lollipop throw up there. And take a look at it from behind Beecher. The play fake, looks down the field, and a little too much air underneath that one, trying to find another receiver, but I don't think he even looked at the coverage, and that's an easy picking for South Carolina State.
Again, they've been trying that deep post route with Mo Brown. They had it once tonight. He dropped it right off his shoulder pads, and the other times, South Carolina State has done a good job reading it and getting to the spot. So the Bulldogs take over on another turnover. 1st down from the 7. And this one is strung outside. Penalty flag on the play. State in danger of another penalty. This would be their 10th. Could be the wide receiver Trey Young on the hold, trying to get a block on Captain Munderland.
As we said, they're at their average, and boy, what hustle by Darian Stewart coming over from his safety
Offense,
position.
number 78.
He actually trips up the
After
running back
this
in
is
the
to go.
backfield.
Replay first down.
McCoy back into the game for South Carolina State. We saw the backup Malcolm Long on the last drive. First down and 14, and this tells a pretty big story right now for the Bulldogs. I mean, they've had their opportunities, but hard to win a game with 10 penalties in the first half. Not much room up the middle there. Jasper Brinkley, as he so often does, plugs the hole.
Good job by the defensive front by the Gamecocks. Marquis Hall, the defensive tackle, gets good penetration in the backfield there and forces the running back to change his field and right back into the Gamecock defenders.
I guess we can stop worrying about that ankle sprain for Jasper Brinkley, because ever since he came out of the game against Lafayette and came back in, he has been the dominating player that we have become accustomed to seeing now in the 2 years he's donned the Gamecock uniform. Option play right side. McCoy keeps it and tight ropes the sideline before going out of bounds at the 14-yard line. It'll set up a 3rd and short. Jasper Brinkley's got a chance to bring home some trophies this year. Walter Camp, Lombardi, Butkus. He's a finalist for all of them. Of course, as the season moves along, they'll go from 50 to 20 to 10 to 5. But Jasper Brinkley, I don't know if there's many better middle linebackers in the country than Jasper Brinkley. Certainly the top one in the Southeastern Conference. Here's a 3rd and 3. Little pitch play to the right side, and he's upended and has the first down. That is Darian Stewart cutting down Jonathan Woods, but he's got the marker.
Again, good job of running the option there by McCoy.
There is no play.
Check the replay here. Good penetration up front by South Carolina.
South Carolina State. Their first timeout of the first half.
Well, that's awfully
odd. This will be a 30-second
The Bulldogs
timeout.
call timeout. They run a play anyway that turned out to be a first down, but they call a timeout before the play, but they still run it. And it's kind of, I didn't mean it. That's what Buddy Pugh's saying right now. No, I didn't call a timeout. So a 3rd down and 3 from the 14-yard line. Bulldogs are 0 of 5 on 3rd down tonight. Another penalty flag as Woods was stopped well shy of the marker anyway. Casper Brinkley getting into the backfield.
You mentioned their problems on 3rd down. They're only 30% coming into tonight.
And it is on the Bulldogs, and they'll...
Illegal motion, movement on the offensive line against the offense. Declined. It'll be 4th down.
Easy decision there to decline the penalty. They're having all kinds of problems on that offensive line tonight.
It's a tough place to be, too. They're down near the student section for South Carolina, and that's a little bit tougher on those offensive linemen to hear things.
So Aaron Hare, 5'8" sophomore out of Orangeburg, back on to punt, where it has been adventurous. Gamecocks going for the block, and again nearly had it. The punter gets hit, no penalty flag. Munderland fields it at the 50, trying to find room on the right side. 45, and turns the corner past the 40, and right at the 40 is where they are going to mark it before Trevance Jackson pushes him out of bounds. Been a long night for that man, Aaron Hare. First down and 10. Blake Mitchell is back into the game for Carolina. And another penalty flag. Wow. Jamon Meredith might have moved early. Net timeout.
Dead ball foul. Ball start. Offense, number 77. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Jamon Meredith, really the top offensive lineman on this Gamecock offense. 6'5", 295-pound junior out of Simpsonville. Can bench press. You and Jamon have something in common, Brad. Both can bench press 450 pounds.
On a good day.
A lot of people didn't know that about you, but I figured I'd brag a little bit for you. I know you're a humble guy, not wanting to show off those exploits. Mitchell under duress finds the tight end Boyd, who's quickly upended. Gain of a couple. It'll be a second down and 13.
Andy Boyd quickly becoming a favorite receiver this year. Of course, coming into this season in his career, in his 6th year now, he only had 4 catches coming into the season on his career, and he had 4 coming into this ball game.
And he's got 5 catches on the year. Jared Cook caught a pass earlier tonight as McKinley on the wide receiver screen trying to make something happen after the catch. That'll make it 3rd and manageable. That is Xavier Littleberry on the tackle, and Xavier had a lot of things to say leading up to this ball game. Number 96, a junior out of Columbus, Ohio, got into some trouble at Clemson, wound up transferring to South Carolina State. Said he was looking forward to putting a hurting on Blake Mitchell, trying to sack him 4 times. First time we've called his name tonight. 3rd and 6. Mitchell rolls out right, fires to McKinley. Pass was low, and that did not allow McKinley to do anything after the catch because he had to leave his feet. So he's a yard shy of the marker, which is at the 30.
I'll tell you what, Ken McKinley's something special, though, because if the Gamecocks decide to go for it, it's a short range here, or if they go for a long field goal, it's in Suckup's range. It's a big play there by Kenny McKinley.
You see Mitchell checking the wristband to make sure he's got the right play. DeMarco is in the game, as you see. And he gave us to the up back. That is Mike Davis. And Davis has a first down.
It's really enjoyable watching Mike Davis and Corey Boyd run the football. Neither one of them gets a lot of work in each game as they split time. In fact, neither one has carried the ball more than 15 times in the game this season. So Coach Spurrier doing a good job of really mixing things up with the 2 good running backs.
Yeah, it's been a true 1-2 punch thus far. And of course they've got Brian Maddox, who has already played sparingly this year. He's the 3rd weapon in that backfield. Mitchell under pressure, fires, caught by McKinley, but out of bounds. Well, it was a good throw going against his body by Blake Mitchell, and a nice catch by McKinley.
Take a look at it here. He has to go avoid the rush up the middle. Being a little nimble here is Mitchell, as he said, across his body. That's a tough throw. McKinley still makes a great play, and as you can see there, the right foot does land out of bounds. Can't bring it down, but still not a bad play by Mitchell, showing a little mobility.
2nd down, 10 yards to go. McKinley, the junior out of Mableton, Georgia, came into this season with 51 catches last year, 25 as a freshman. High school quarterback. And now another whistle before the play can get off, and it's a timeout.
South Carolina, 3rd and final timeout of the first half. This will be a 30-second timeout.
In the second quarter, Alabama 21, Arkansas nothing. In the fourth quarter, Utah 34, UCLA 6. Into the first half, it's Vanderbilt 7 and Ole Miss 3.
2nd and 10 from the 27. McKinley and Brown, receivers, the bottom of your screen. The lone back is Mike Davis behind Blake Mitchell. Mitchell, straight drop, looking left now is hit. Ball is loose, picked up by the Bulldogs. Keon Brooks, number 99, the 6'2", 260-pound junior out of Miami, Florida, is there to pick up the fumble.
Blake Mitchell never saw it coming. As the pressure came from the other side, he's looking to his left. The pressure comes from the right here. As you watch, he drops back. He's looking left. Here comes the pressure. Never sees it coming. Catches the helmet in the ear hole there, almost underneath the shoulder pad, and turnover goes to South Carolina State.
That is Ryan Potts, number 27 on the blitz. Blake never saw the blitz. Ryan Potts, a backup linebacker out of Fort Mill, that jarred the ball loose. Too often the guy that recovers it gets all the credit. He can't recover it without the big hit. 4 first-half turnovers by the Gamecocks. This is not what Steve Spurrier had in mind for tuning up for a big one next week against LSU, which in all likelihood will be ranked number 2 in America.
Well, folks, you always say you're as good as your last game, and South Carolina seems to always have played. I don't mean this to demean South Carolina State, but to the level of your competition. They struggled against Louisiana Lafayette, played very well against University of Georgia last week, and struggling a little bit here. They're not very sharp against South Carolina State.
Well, I'll throw another 1AA opponent at you. Wofford last year. That thing came down to the last few seconds. Pass complete to Young on a quick slant. Nice grab there by the 6-foot redshirt sophomore, Oliver Trey Young.
And quick slant here inside and just fits it in between a couple of defenders, similar to the Kenny McKinley catch earlier.
We're seeing more of that spread offense. Here's a little orbit motion behind McCoy, who keeps it himself and finds a lane down the near sideline, past the 40 and to the 39 of the Gamecocks. Darian Stewart finally brings him down.
First time McCoy has really been able to break loose tonight. Only had 11 yards rushing prior to that. Makes a great fake and finds a big hole on the right side. Take a look at it here. Makes a great fake. Draws all the defenders to the left side. They tackle the up man, and he's got a lot of running room on the right side.
First down. McCoy going for it down the far sideline, intended for Young. And it looked like he had some separation, but the ball didn't get there.
He got past Brandon Isaac. If he floats the ball out there, it's a touchdown. Safety a little late getting over there. That should have been 6 for the Bulldogs.
Cleveland McCoy, busy night. He's thrown 8 passes. He's run it a number of times. And in fact, officially, McCoy 8 rushes for 11 yards. So he's kind of their do-everything quarterback. He's going to be worn out after this ball game. 2nd down and 10. They give us to Ford. Ford sheds a couple of tacklers and has first down yardage near the 25-yard line.
Finding some room on that right side, the left side of the South Carolina defensive line. Jasper Brinkley kind of got hooked trying to make the play in the hole near the line of scrimmage and opens up the hole on the right side.
And this defense has been out here a while with a couple of turnovers by the Gamecocks here of late. Might be showing a little bit of fatigue. Here on first down, it's McCoy on the keeper. Racing to the sideline. Another solid gain of about 7 yards. It'll be 2nd and short.
And McCoy has found his, niche, running the option to the right side. We saw a lot of misdirection when Louisiana Lafayette was in town, and Mike Desimo really ate up some yards in the ground for the Raging Cajuns against the South Carolina defense.
Now, minute 37 to go. State has 2 timeouts. You got plenty of time here. 2nd down and 3. 4-man rush for the Gamecocks. McCoy looking for the end zone. Nobody's there other than Darian Stewart. He's lucky not to have that one picked off. Cliff Matthews, good pressure off the edge.
Stewart looked like he broke off his route, stopped running, and watch McCoy take the hit here. The pressure coming from the left side. Looking at the one receiver the whole time. Look at the pressure by Cliff Matthews. Takes him down, and some other pressure inside by Reeves. Takes the hit.
3rd down and 3. It's big play right here. Both teams struggling tonight on 3rd down. McCoy fires. Incomplete. Knocked down by Darian Stewart. And that'll set up a 4th down. We'll see what Buddy Pugh has in mind here. Again, you've got the backup kicker who did get a field goal earlier in this game. It was a bank shot off the right upright. And they will indeed go for it. Why not? 4th down and 3. Will Ford, the lone back to the left of Cleveland McCoy, who barks out the signals. Play is to the left side. Going to try to race to the corner. Now cuts it back upfield. He is creamed there, but right near the marker.
See if they mark it with the left or the right foot. Good blocking on the outside. Jasper Brinkley went down. Middle linebacker coming over. And they got a good cut block on him to take him out of the picture, and that will make it close. Got a South Carolina State player down on the play.
That's Cleveland McCoy. Might be cramping up a little bit. Let's take some looks at this last play.
And this is just all McCoy trying to beat everybody to the outside. You see the block there on Brinkley, takes him to the ground, and that may have been enough to get him the 1st down. The lead block by the running back Will Ford, as I said, hurdles one defender and picked up the 1st down.
McCoy took a pretty good shot there when he left his feet. So Malcolm Long, who we saw earlier in this game, comes back out onto the field. He's the freshman out of Gaffney. Clock ticking down now. Under a minute to go. 1st down and 10. Long going to throw to the end zone. Incomplete. Captain Munnerlyn draping the receiver on the coverage there, intended for Oliver Young.
Malcolm Long made that a little bit easier. He was looking at one receiver the whole time, and Munnerlyn's right in his eyes here. Take a look at it here. He's looking left side all the way. This is his man. Easy play. Good coverage by Munnerlyn with that good speed right in position.
Captain Munnerlyn is really turning in to an outstanding cornerback. McCoy back in the game. Hands it off to Woods. Woods fumbles the football, and it's recovered by South Carolina. Jonathan Woods fumbles it away on the far sideline. And another turnover in this ball game. The Gamecocks will get it back with 39 seconds remaining.
Now, Woods only had 1 carry on the season coming into this ball game, primarily used as a blocking back. And take a look at it here. Seldom carries the ball. Got the ball in the wrong hand. He's moving to his left. He's got it in his right arm. It just gets stripped away. Good job by the Gamecocks to strip that one out of Jonathan Woods' hands, and they'll take over with under a minute to play.
That is highway robbery by Captain Munnerlyn, who had the great coverage on the previous play. He just got in there and stole it from Jonathan Woods. Stewart on the recovery. A big hole for Corey Boyd. Breaks another tackle. Pushes forward past the 30 and down to the 31-yard line.
And this is all Corey Boyd. We said it takes more than one defender to bring him down. If we take a look at it, starts right, moves left, finds a couple of holes. Isn't really touched till he's got about 15 yards. Breaks 3 tackles there and still moving forward at the end.
19 yards on the carry. The longest run of the year for the Gamecocks coming into this game was 18 yards. Mitchell has time, going over the middle, complete. Just shy of midfield, and Carolina will burn a timeout here as Freddie Brown makes the catch. You could maybe squeeze 2 plays, possibly 1. And they're going to spike it here instead of, there's no timeouts left, so really had no other option there. So you'll have one more play in this half, a chance for Blake Mitchell to launch one to the end zone here. You've got Jared Cook. He's going to line up as a receiver. He's got a 6'5" frame. He's a great leaper. He's lined up there in the slot at the bottom of your screen. Mitchell rolling out left. Penalty flag is on the play. Mitchell Cocks and fires, and it is intercepted by the Bulldogs. Terrence Allen, number 15, on the takeaway. And if that is an offensive penalty, this one will be declined by Buddy Pugh and company. It would be the 5th turnover of the night on South Carolina. Another officials conference.
Illegal formation, offense, only 6 players on the line of scrimmage. It is declined. That is the end of the first half.
Well, the good news is, if you're South Carolina, you've got a 14-point lead. The bad news is, if you're one of these players, I think Steve Spurrier is going to have some choice words at the half. 17-3 our score. Halftime shows coming up here on CSS. Second half action gets underway with the Gamecocks leading at 17-3. The Bulldogs will have the football first here in the second half as the return gets out to the 25-yard line. Well, let's face it, folks, the first half was hardly a thing of beauty. Turnovers and penalties kind of leading the way as we take a look at some of the halftime statistics. Rushing yards, I think that's the biggest surprise, that the Bulldogs were able to run for 101 yards in the first half. But turnovers, the real story of this game. 3 on State, 5 on Carolina, and then the Bulldogs 10 penalties in this ball game. So it's been a situation where each team has shot themselves in the foot. We'll see if the play is a little bit cleaner here in the second half of play as another penalty flag falls to the ground. The catch was made by Bush. But we'll see what the call is.
Illegal formation, offense. Number 50 was not on the line. 5-yard penalty. Replay first down.
Again, that's our referee, Jeff Roberson, and if he gets paid by the penalty, he's going to be a rich man after tonight. Back him up. It'll be first down and 15. Ball spotted just shy of the 21-yard line. Cleveland McCoy was sacked 5 times 2 weeks ago against the Air Force, but he's done a good job of getting rid of the ball. And look at this hole here up the middle for Will Ford. Darian Stewart, the last line of defense in the secondary, brings him down. Again, big hole between the center and the left guard. That's Raymond Harrison and Devin Dawson, and doesn't get touched until about 15 yards down the field. Darian Stewart, nice wrap up there. The Gamecock defense continues to give up some big plays on the ground. William Ford averaging 8.6 yards per run. First down and 10 now from the 38.
Timeout.
And how about this?
South
Timeout
Carolina
call.
State. First timeout of the second
17-3 is our score. Bulldogs trying to mount a drive here.
Tonight, winner receives 10 pair of Gamecock Rocks. Get your Gamecock Rocks at the University Bookstore on campus.
Back to Williams-Brice Stadium. Mike Morgan, Brad Muller with you here at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina, where the crowd has been waiting for something to cheer. It's been a highlight here, and
It's
then
first and 10
a
from
few
the
bad
38.
plays there. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back for most of the way, really for both of these teams. But the Bulldogs now trying to cut into this 14-point lead for the Gamecocks. That will help. Rodney Paulk and Marquis Hall tackling Cleveland McCoy, who has had a busy day rushing the football tonight.
Got plenty of time back there. Just couldn't find a receiver down the field. Good coverage by the Gamecock defensive backs, but not enough pass rush to get him behind the line of scrimmage.
2nd down, 6 yards to go. Again out of the gun, Ford the lone back. Tries to reverse field there. Modest gain before Azure Boy wraps him up. Well, Lottie Azure Boy is a guy that Steve Spurrier has been raving about since fall practice. Big number 91, 6'1", 294-pound freshman out of Riverdale, Georgia.
Had 6 tackles coming into the night, and he's very active there on the front line for the Gamecocks.
3rd down. It has been a challenge for both teams. The Bulldogs just 1 out of 8. Crowd imploring the defense to make a big play here. Gamecocks rushing 5, and the sack is applied by Lottie Azure Boy. Boy, right on cue. We were just singing his praises. Perhaps he heard us down there on the field.
Must have had an earpiece down there as we take a look at it. Again, coverage sack down there, but look at the pressure up front this time. Only a 4-man rush makes him step up in the pocket right into the waiting arms of Azure Boy. And good coverage downfield on a pick pattern. The South Carolina defensive back's able to stay with it. And as you look at it again, Azure Boy wraps him up.
Pretty good pursuit on the edge by Norwood as well. Kenny McKinley is now back to return a punt. Steve Spurrier saying earlier in the week he's going to use a lot of his starters on special teams. Another rugby-style punt here. McKinley is going to let it bounce at the 30, and as most of these rugby punts do, they take a very good bounce for the punting team all the way inside the 10. That bounce and roll was over 20 yards. The punt in total was 52 yards without a return. Blake Mitchell back out onto the field with the Gamecock offense. We did see quite a bit of Tommy Beecher in the first half. And again, Chris Smelly is injured, so Steve Spurrier certainly wants Beecher to be ready. If Smelly continues to be hurt, the only other option would be taking the red shirt off of Stephen Garcia. That's really not what they had in mind, so you could understand why they wanted to get Tommy Beecher some reps in the first half. But yeah, the way this game is right now and the way the Gamecocks have flirted with disaster against lesser opponents over the last few years, it might be Blake Mitchell's show the rest of the way.
Yeah, it's still a ball game. There's a chance one big play could get the Bulldogs right back in it. We saw an early pick that almost ended up being 6 for South Carolina State, and it only ended up being a field goal on the first possession for South Carolina.
You know, Brad, I was looking over some numbers. As you see, there is Stephen Garcia. He is dressed just in case. He's the number 3 quarterback. But that would be a in case of emergency break glass situation. But the longest pass play of the year for this Gamecock offense is 33 yards. I mean, they're just not getting the big play. You had a situation earlier in the first half. Mo Brown had a sure touchdown, dropped the ball. So they are still trying to find some big plays in the passing game. Stephen Garcia out of Tampa, Florida. Steve Spurrier, in a lot of ways, has labeled him the future of the South Carolina quarterbacking crew. Of course, he's got to earn it, but Stephen Garcia is a guy that brings some physical ability that, frankly, most of the guys that Steve Spurrier has had here at South Carolina, they just haven't had that, Brad. I mean, they've done a fine job. We've sung the praises of Blake Mitchell earlier in this game. But, Brad, Stephen Garcia is a special kind of athlete.
He certainly is. That's why he was brought here enrolled early, and they had hoped that he might be available for this season. Got into some chronicled off-season trouble in the spring, and that's why they considered redshirting him. But as they said, he's the emergency quarterback right now. But right now it's in Blake Mitchell's hands and Corey Boyd's hands at the moment. He's had a pretty good night so far, splitting time with Mike Davis. Again, that 1-2 punch that Coach Spurrier has called some of the best he's had.
Corey Boyd, a modest game there, and what a big week he had last week in Athens. Watch this juke move. Whoop. Finds a path to the end zone. And then the rest of the way, it was the Carolina defense that was the big story. Darian Stewart, perhaps the defensive player of the game. There's Brandon Isaac on a nice play, and celebration time as the Gamecocks win in Athens for the first time since 2001 as Mike Davis gets first down yardage before Raphael Bush stops him on the play. And that was, the missing victory and kind of the beasts of the East, if you will. Corey Boyd and Mike Davis combining for a number of yards last year, and particularly the last 4 games. That's when this offense really started to click, an average of 488 yards per game. They're trying to pick up where they left off from a year ago. But what that last win did for Steve Spurrier, as Davis weaving his way, now breaking the tackle and muscling forward to the 40. Spurrier's got to win over Tennessee. He's got to win over Florida. He's got to win over Clemson. He's got a bowl win, and he's got to win over Georgia. He's done all this in less than 3 years' time. Needless to say, he's already making his mark in the history of great coaches of this University of South Carolina program.
Well, Coach Spurrier says it all the time. He wants to change the mindset. They had all those close losses last year to a couple of those other big teams in the SEC, and that's not good enough for him. Close isn't good enough for Coach Steve Spurrier.
Right. Mitchell back under center. Mike Davis again. Big hole up the middle. Puts his head down, powers forward into Bulldog territory. It will be another first down.
Good blocking up front. Garrett Anderson, Jamon Meredith, Kerminder Finn. Just look at the hole. Opens up here on the right side. A little counter step right up the middle. Untouched. Sneaks by a couple. And Davis having another good night. He's that 2 of that great 1-2 punch for the Gamecocks.
Again, Mike Davis came in averaging over 6 yards a carry. And, well, right on cue, he's averaging 6.6 yards a carry tonight. Davis, a lot of room down the left side. Davis leaps in the air and is brought down after another big gain. Phillip Adams on the stop, but he took the brunt of that blow as Davis always falling forward and lunging ahead.
And look at it here. He almost runs right at the back of the pulling guard, Mule Jean-Pierre on the left side. Jean-Pierre out in front of him. Now Davis passes him, and Jean-Pierre knocks down one of his own guys.
Jean-Pierre, the converted defensive lineman, still learning the position, but they love the athleticism for his size. Really good feet for a guy 295 pounds. Look at this hole for Corey Boyd. He's got first down yardage.
And that may be the longest run of the year for the Gamecocks. Close to it. Look at it again. Offensive line doing a good job for South Carolina, opening up holes here in the second half. It's been hit or miss in the first half, but Boyd and Davis doing it again here to start the second half.
The offensive line really imposing its will on this Bulldogs defense right now. Davis and Boyd both finding a lot of room. Here's some more. Over the left side, Mike Davis before being brought down by Raphael Bush again. You mentioned might be the longest run of the year. The longest run of the year coming into this game was only 18 yards, and that was by Mike Davis. And the rush that Corey Boyd had a couple of plays ago went for 21, so that now becomes the longest rush of the year. Again, the longest pass play still only 33 yards.
Offensive line's been very active for South Carolina here in the second half. A lot of pulls, a lot of counter plays.
Here's Davis, jitterbugs. Again, muscling forward. He's to the 4. A yard shy of a first down. It'll be 3rd and short. More great blocking by this Gamecock offensive line.
And it's a big offensive line for South Carolina. Again, 3 of the starters over 300 pounds. A smaller defensive line. Look at the hole created on the draw play. He's untouched until he gets past the line of scrimmage. Of course, that's what Coach Steve Spurrier wants. They did a good job clearing a hole, didn't get the first down.
There is the offensive line coach, John Hunt, happy with the way his unit is dominating here on this drive. 3rd and short, 10th play of the drive, and a penalty flag. Boy, we almost went an entire drive without having to say penalty flag on the field. I don't know if there's been one for either team tonight. Every play on this drive has been a running play.
It's been working so far. Again, that offensive line maybe has found its rhythm here in the second half for South Carolina. We've seen some counter plays, as we said. They're pulling guards left and right, and that's created some holes that we didn't see in the first half for the Gamecocks.
9 rushes for 87 yards. That's been the drive. But now with the penalty, that makes it 3rd down and 6. Could be a passing situation here. Mitchell from the gun. Looks right. Throws underneath to Davis. Davis leaping forward. Davis into the end zone. A touchdown for Carolina.
That's as good as a run there when you're throwing to Mike Davis. The little 2-yard hitch. Just get the ball in his hands, moving forward at speed.
Mike Davis with his 12th career touchdown, a 9-yard scamper. And the Gamecocks have a chance to make it 24-3. Ryan Suckup, perfect this year on extra points, and he'll stay that way. 6:24 remaining. Gamecocks leading it 24-3. And we're back with more on CSS.
Hey, Gamecock fans, before today's game, Joseph Hatchell started on the opposite 35-yard line where he punted and threw a pass for a chance to win today's McDonald's prize pack. Now Joseph will attempt a 27-yard field goal for the opportunity to win $1,000 from McDonald's. Good luck, Joseph! Nice try, but don't worry, you've still won a $100 Arch card and $150 worth of other cool McDonald's items. And fans, make sure you stop by your local McDonald's and see why Gamecock fans are loving it. And while you're there, register to be our next McDonald's punt, pass, kick contestant.
Back to the live action here at Williams-Brice Stadium. The Gamecocks with a 24-3 lead. The deep back is Dustin DeBose for the Bulldogs of SC State as the kick bounces inbounds, then goes into the end zone out of bounds. That is a good magic trick by Ryan Suckup. It will be a touchback.
He had 29 touchbacks in each of the first 2 seasons, on his way to another good season here.
Mike Davis, the leader on that drive, a 9-yard touchdown, capping off the 10-play, 91-yard drive, 4 minutes, 59 seconds off the clock. And again, that only pass was the touchdown on the little dump down offering from Mitchell to Davis. Everything else was just a run, most of them right up the gut of that Bulldogs defensive line. McCoy still in at quarterback, throws it off, complete to number 2, Dustin DeBose. DeBose been a busy man tonight. Emmanuel Cook with the tackle.
They set up the receiver screen. We saw Louisiana Lafayette do that a lot to South Carolina pretty effectively, and goes for a first down for the Bulldogs.
It is a first down. Melvin Ingram into the game for the Gamecock defense. Gamecock showing blitz. Here's Ford probing the right side. Emmanuel Cook coming all the way from the other side of the field. Finally tracks him down, but Emmanuel Cook ran about 60 yards to make that tackle.
And take a look at it here. Watch the block on the right side by James Lee. The right tackle clearing the defensive end out of the way. It opens it up, and you see the play from behind. But a great block there by James Lee of South Carolina State to open things up.
Keep in mind the field is over 50 yards in width. Cook had to come from the right side, and then he had to go up the field. Of course, Cook, a standout running back in high school. He was at Palm Beach Gardens, a 6A high school in the state of Florida, led them to their first ever state title, and they converted him into a safety when he came here, and as a freshman made the all-SEC freshman team. So he has made that adjustment quite smoothly, and now that he's back from the injury and everything else, Emmanuel Cook has a chance to have another standout year. This secondary really has a chance to kind of make a name for themselves. The way some of these guys are playing. Pass is tipped up and intercepted. Is that Brinkley again? It is. Jasper Brinkley with his second interception in 2 weeks. He capped off the Georgia victory with an INT. This time it's all Jasper.
And you might want to give him 2 stats in here. Give him a pass defense as he knocks it away, and then comes up with the interception as well. As you said, his second interception of the season. He's got good speed to cover. They've known that all along. He puts it on display here. Look at that, just reads the quarterback's eyes, jumps up, and quick enough to move forward a couple of yards and come down with the pick and put the Gamecocks on the right side of the field.
Boy, he is a special football player. Going to be a first-round draft pick in all likelihood. In fact, we do the post-game show with Deuce Staley. He played 10 years in the NFL, and I asked Deuce, I said, who does Jasper Brinkley remind you of? He said, Ray Lewis. He looks at Brinkley, reminds him of Lewis. Here's McKinley, and the ball is underthrown and intercepted. The pass was completely underthrown. McKinley beat Bailey Brinson on the coverage, but Brinson had a chance to catch up to it.
Well, that ball just underthrown by Blake Mitchell. McKinley looks like he gets good separation as we take a look at here. May have gotten away with a push-off. You see Mitchell had time, not too much pressure, gets a good look, looks one way, comes the other, and just underthrew McKinley, who had a step on the defender.
6th turnover of the night for the Gamecocks. Make sure to get all the inside information on the South Carolina Gamecocks during head coach Steve Spurrier's show Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, CSS, your source for Gamecock football. So back-to-back turnovers in this game. It has been a turnover and penalty fest here in Columbia. Gamecocks leading at 24-3. And it'll be 2nd down and 3 for the Bulldogs, who are going no huddle here, and understandably so.
Darian Stewart may have knocked himself out of the game with that. Had to come out and check a few cobwebs loose.
That's 10 combined turnovers in this game. A little misdirection action there, and that will be good enough for a first down out to the 19 before Jasper Brinkley, who else, makes the tackle.
This is the type of play the South Carolina defense has struggled with, not just this year, but last year. These kind of options and misdirections with running quarterbacks has really wreaked havoc. As you take another look at it here, the fake this way, all the Gamecocks go that way. And look at McCoy finding the hole on the right side for the first down.
This game has now featured 10 turnovers and 13 penalties. And some pretty bad passes, much like the one we just saw. Carlos Thomas, who was suspended for the first half of this game, was on the coverage on that play.
Boy, getting pounded all night. As you look at it here, he's taking a lot of licks this evening. Look at this one.
Cleveland McCoy, 4 of 13 throwing the ball, 43 yards rushing. Those 3 INTs have really taken South Carolina State out of some good-looking drives. 2nd down and 10. Gamecocks with a 4-3 look. Forward to the right side. And we'll move forward for about 4 or 5 yards. Casper Brinkley, one of the Garnet jerseys, in on the tackle. So another 3rd down for the Bulldogs. They are 1 of 9.
Casper very active on the outside, almost overran the play, but he's really looked good since moving back to linebacker this year. Remember the defensive end last year, but played linebacker a lot in junior college.
So last-second substitutions for the Gamecock defense, including Jasper Brinkley hustling out onto the field. 3rd down and 5. McCoy to Ford. Ford is stood up right near the marker. Going to be very close. And it is indeed a 1st down.
Check out the run here. Again, the misdirection freezes a couple of defenders, gets a block, cuts it back inside. Good hard running as he's falling forward before Gamecocks finally push him back.
7 carries for 44 yards now for Will Ford. He'll get a breather as Jonathan Woods enters the game. Woods gets the carry, nothing doing. Goes absolutely nowhere. Got 4 Garnet jerseys there, including Captain Munnerlyn.
Munnerlyn reads this play all the way, comes right off his receiver right away to make the tackle. Wasn't fooled by any kind of misdirection or option.
So a 2nd down and 10. McCoy takes his time, play clock down to 5. Gets the snap off. Under duress, flushed out. Now he's going to tuck it and run, and he is lassoed down by Cliff Matthews, who's had a solid game.
Let's take a look at the defensive line. As you said, Matthews, we've called his name a lot tonight. Joel Reeves also putting pressure on there as well. A lot of defenders, defensive linemen getting action tonight. Matthews, the freshman, called his name about 3 or 4 times. Doesn't give up on the play, comes all the way across the field, and then horse collars him to bring him down. As you see, Brad Long, the defensive line coach for the Gamecocks, shuffling a lot of players in and out tonight.
Brad Long's an interesting story. He worked with Lou Saban and Bill Belichick in the NFL. He came from North Carolina. Steve Spurrier calls him the best defensive line coach he's ever worked with, as yet another penalty flag falls to the field. No surprise there.
Offense, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Broke the huddle with 12 men, illegal substitution, so that'll back him up again.
12th penalty on the Bulldogs. And Brad Long, you know, when he came here, they were more of a reaction defense, more of a shooting the gaps kind of defense. This year and the last couple of years under Long, much more attacking, more aggressive. That's what they wanted to do. That's what Tyrone Nix wanted to implement, and they've done it. And again, a lot of respect by Steve Spurrier for the job that Brad Long does. And on the screen pass, Will Ford weaving his way to about the 35. Jonathan Williams, another one of those newcomers, in on the tackle. There was talk that Williams might move to offensive line, but looks like he's going to stay on the defense for tonight.
Take a look here, not a 1st down, but a nice pickup. Look at the downfield blocking by the offensive lineman right there, coming up and blowing him out, giving his running back a chance to gain a few more yards.
Captain Munnerlyn back to receive the punt. And Kenny McKinley, in case it's a rugby punt, is 10 yards in front of Munnerlyn. It is going to be, oh, it's a fake. He's taking it down the far sideline. Hare tries to get to the corner, but when he does, he is greeted by a couple of Garnet jerseys, including number 31, Gerard Sinclair. It'll be 1st down for the Gamecocks as the fake punt by Aaron Hare to no avail. Staggered eye look for the Gamecocks. Mitchell in the game at quarterback. Handoff is to Boyd. Off right tackle. Boyd trying to find some running room. Cuts it up, and a solid gain of about 8 yards on first down as the Gamecocks really dominating the line of scrimmage on the running plays here in the second half. Joe Council, the transfer from East Carolina, in on the stop, the freshman out of Walterboro. And that brings us to the end of the third quarter of play. The Gamecocks leading it 24-3. Fourth quarter action coming your way on CSS. With the Gamecocks leading at 24-3 in the fourth quarter, about to get underway, we sent it down to the field for George Rogers. George?
I tell you what, South Carolina, it wasn't very good first half, but the second half, Mike Davis and Corey Boyd. I tell you what, those guys are running that football, and that's what we want.
And that's what you'll get, George. Corey Boyd on the touchdown, 29 yards. Corey Boyd, who's had a terrific third quarter, and George, I guess that's what you were talking about, big guy.
Hey, that's what I'm trying to tell you, man. You know what? Coach Spurrier is one of the best at second half coming in. After the second half, Coach Spurrier is one of the best, and he's showing it right now.
It's been the Boyd and Davis show in this third quarter. They have run all over the South Carolina State defense. And a Ryan Suckup extra point here would make it 31-3. Suckup remains perfect. The Gamecocks with another successful drive as we take another look at Corey Boyd. Alongside Brad Moore and George Rogers, Mike Morgan with you. The story, the Gamecocks starting to control the line of scrimmage here in the second half. Running it right down the heart of the Bulldogs defense as the kickoff return is out to the 22-yard line. Another successful drive led primarily by that man, Corey Boyd. And how about those numbers? 11 carries, 132 yards, and that is a new career high. 132 yards, a new career high on Corey Boyd. Scoring summary, 2 plays, 38 yards, the 29-yard scamper by that man, Corey Boyd. Just 26 seconds elapsing off the clock. And just so we tie up all the loose ends here, the previous career high for Corey Boyd was 113 yards against Kentucky and Vanderbilt. He did it twice. He has shattered that mark, a new career high for Corey Boyd. Jasper Brinkley trying to get a new career high for tackles. He's got several of them on tonight.
And this is why he's one of the best linebackers in college football. As the cornerback releases from the receiver on the screen, as we look at it here, comes in on the delayed blitz with the quarterback rolling out. And here comes Brinkley. He reads it right away, form tackle, and brings him back.
Well, the first half, Gamecocks really didn't do much on the ground. 18 carries, 60 yards. This half, 11 rushes for 125 yards, all by Corey Boyd and Mike Davis. And that will help you forget about the 6 turnovers in this ball game by Carolina. Otherwise, that score might be a little bit more lopsided. Flare pass out to the right side. It's Ford, brought down at the 30-yard line. Just a follow-up on that turnover stat. 6 turnovers tonight for Carolina. In the last 4 games, the Gamecocks only had 6 turnovers. Think about the competition. Clemson, Georgia, Houston in the bowl game, and of course, Louisiana Lafayette in week 1. So Carolina has not played a clean game, but certainly now starting to play a successful game in terms of rushing the football, as the Gamecocks overall 29 carries, 185 rushing yards.
Hasn't been a thing of beauty, as you said, but Coach Spurrier not fooling around and said, let's try to put this one in our back pocket. And strength tonight has been the running game, as you said.
Another punt by Hare. He's been a busy man. McKinley going to field it on one bounce at the 30. Going to follow the block of Munnerlyn and gets it out to the 42. Ball might have gone on the ground there. It did. But Munnerlyn recovered it. Nice job. Captain Munnerlyn picked up a key block, and Captain Munnerlyn recovers the football. So that would have been the 7th turnover of the night, and Kenny McKinley ought to buy Captain Munnerlyn dinner sometime this week.
Take a look at it again. He almost lost it running up the back of Munnerlyn. It comes out. The first contact is McKinley was running straight up and down there, and somebody got a hand on the football, was able to knock it loose, and Munnerlyn's Johnny on the spot.
When you leave your feet on a punt return, bad things tend to happen. Mike Davis is in the game for Carolina, and this is our first look. Number 18, Dion LaCorn, the freshman wideout out of Ocala. And again, Larry Freeman made a catch earlier in this game, but still no catches by Jason Barnes, Mark Barnes. Chris Culliver's got the bad ankle. We'll give him a reprieve. Matt Clements, all these talented freshman receivers. So Coach Spurrier, I guess, figuring let's give somebody else a shot. Dion LaCorn is out on the field, and he'll have a chance to make a play.
Something they've been searching for all season long, somebody other than Kenny McKinley. They're going to have to find another go-to person, because by now everybody knows who Kenny McKinley is. They've got to find at least a second receiver other than the tight ends or running backs if they're going to be successful against the top SEC teams the rest of the way.
And it's been the same story tonight too. McKinley's caught 4 balls, including a touchdown. Davis and Boyd have each caught a pair. Cook, a tight end. Mo Brown, Freddie Brown, and Larry Freeman have each caught 1 pass. But other than that, it's been the McKinley / tight ends / running backs show. And you know, if you're going to start beating teams, and we've held off this long, maybe now we can start saying those 3 letters LSU. If you're going to beat LSU, it might help to have somebody else pose a threat at wide receiver other than Kenny McKinley. Mike Davis another big hole up the middle, because I can promise you one thing, these holes that we're seeing for Davis and Boyd this week are not going to be quite as large next week in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, that defensive line for LSU is a little bit bigger than the South Carolina State defensive line. As we said, the Bulldogs are a bit undersized. Nobody over 300 pounds, nobody over 270 on that defensive front.
2nd down and 2. Davis, the deep back. Mitchell feeds him again. Davis, as he always does, finishes off the run the way you're supposed to. And that extra surge forward is enough for the 1st down.
Take a look at it here, working the left side, gets a block there off the end. As you said, falling forward, takes the defender down with him. It's not very often you see him get knocked back. He's a lot of fun to watch, and he's a little bit undersized. He's able to sneak through the line a lot of times. It's just a fun number 2 punch for South Carolina, as Boyd's had a great night as well.
Davis, of course, out of Columbia High School, came into this season with over 1,100 career yards. His career high, 125 yards, Independence Bowl against Missouri. Blake going deep down the field, and a great leaping catch by Jason Barnes. There's one of those freshman receivers, 6'3", 203-pounder out of Charlotte, North Carolina.
And Jason Barnes got behind the defenders. We look at it here. If Blake Mitchell leads him a little bit more, it's a touchdown. If you take a look at it, good play action, had plenty of time. The deep ball had to stop, come back for it. Makes a great catch leaping over the defensive back. But that ball's out in front of him. That's 6 points for Carolina.
And that is now the longest pass play of the year for the Gamecocks, 34 yards by my count. Jason Barnes, who played at Independence High School, one of the most successful high school programs in America. Their winning percentage over the last few years has been phenomenal, and they throw the ball frequently, so usually a guy out of that system picks up a college offense a little bit more quickly than your average high school receiver does. And Jason Barnes got to feel awfully good right now for that young man, and maybe that again will be a guy that we see more of. South Carolina State player injured on the field, and good sign, James Simmons, the junior out of Greenville, is walking off, appears to be okay.
Receivers like that can really make a quarterback look good on an underthrown ball. We've seen that a lot in the past couple of years for South Carolina, and Sidney Rice, well, he's gone. As you said, will Jason Barnes be the next guy? You had some great South Carolina receivers who could make plays on the ball like that way in the past. Sterling Sharp, Robert Brooks, and we'll see if Jason Barnes is able to continue his career for the next 4 years.
Funny you should mention Sidney Rice, because when you see number 4, it's hard not to think of Sidney Rice now with the Minnesota Vikings. Gamecocks in control of this one here in the 4th quarter. First down and 10 from the 13-yard line. LaCorn and Barnes in the game at receiver. Davis the deep back. Mitchell gonna feed him. Davis cuts it up inside the 10. A modest gain of about 4. Raphael Bush on the tackle. Now that man Steve Spurrier, you know, his 12 years at Florida, all he did was average 38 points a game. Hasn't done that yet here, but certainly winning is something he's done everywhere. And the 3rd year at Duke, you couldn't have asked for much more. 6-1 in the ACC and ACC championship. 3rd year at Florida, not so bad either. And now the question remains, what will the 3rd year have in store for this Gamecock program? Davis probing the left side this time, and down shy of the 5. He'll be about 2 yards short of the first down marker.
Interesting how things happen. Of course, last year you get into a tight situation like this when you're down close. You look for maybe the fade pattern to Sidney Rice, and with not yet a go-to receiver, a big, tall receiver, in this case, looks like Coach Steve Spurrier content to run the football, but a big third down coming here. The Gamecocks have had success all season long in the red zone coming into tonight. They were perfect. See if they can keep it going here.
LaCorn and Barnes at the top of your screen. State showing blitz. They bring it. Mitchell, quick drop, fires, complete, touchdown. Touchdown for Mark Barnes. His first career reception is a touchdown. The standout out of Richland Northeast High School, who was recruited as a defensive back. And what a way to finally get in the stat sheet. 6 points.
Take a look at it. You got the quick slants going in that Barnes able to get in front of his defender, and Blake Mitchell puts it where only his man can get it. It's easy 6 for South Carolina.
So think of all the new receivers that were featured on that drive, as the extra point is good. We saw Jason Barnes, Mark Barnes. Quick slant, touchdown, nothing to it. We saw Dion LaCorn. So these freshman receivers finally getting something done here in week 3. 38-3 now our score. 9:58 remaining in this ball game.
Could make for an interesting week of practice with these receivers whose names haven't been called all season long, making a name for themselves late with those other guys that were given opportunities but really hadn't come through.
Right.
Could make for an interesting week in practice.
Incidentally, if you're wondering who was that last guy in the extra point, 87, that was Spencer Lanning. He's the redshirt freshman. He's the backup kicker. And you don't see him much, but Steve Spurrier has raved about him in practice. He's hit a couple over 50 yards in scrimmage situations, so he might be the future for the kicking game when Ryan Suckup moves on, and there's a good chance he'll move on to the NFL at some point.
With the leg he's got not only for field goals, but we've talked about before on the long kickoffs. They moved the college kickoffs back again 5 yards this year, and it still hasn't been much of a problem for Ryan Suckup. Half his kickoffs going into this game have gone for touchbacks. He's put a couple in the end zone tonight, and again in each of his first 2 seasons he had 29 touchbacks in each of those seasons, so he's got a consistently strong leg on kickoffs as well.
It will be Suckup on the kickoff here. Again from the 30, the new rule in college football, which has dramatically decreased touchbacks across the board, but not for South Carolina because, again, Suckup has such a strong leg, it really hasn't affected his ability to get it into the end zone. Number 14 puts this one into play at about the 5-yard line. Not much doing on the return for Dustin DuBose. Scoring summary, and we've had plenty of scores to summarize here in this second half. 6 plays, 59 yards, 2:54 off the clock. Mark Barnes with a 6-yard touchdown reception. They were very excited about the prospect of him being a defensive back this year, but there came a time when they just wanted to try him out at receiver. He fell in love with the position and had some really good practices early on, and that's probably where he's going to stay.
Like you've chronicled, that Steve Spurrier not afraid to move people around from offense, defense, or vice versa, or bring them back or make them wide receivers or linebackers and all that. But the big story you touched on earlier, the quarterback for South Carolina State, Cleveland McCoy, originally a linebacker in Coach Pugh's scheme, and he had to talk his coach into letting him play quarterback 3 years ago.
Yeah, he talked him into it, and it was, if you're Buddy Pugh, it was a good thing to give in because the guy's been first or second team All-MEAC the last 2 years. And second and long, a few yards there. It'll set up a third down at about 5. Mike West, a former wide receiver, pushing him out of bounds.
Right on cue. Melvin Ingram, the freshman in there at linebacker, forces the pitch early in the backfield, and the rest of the Gamecock defenders string it out.
Boy, Mike West is on his 3rd position in 3 years. He's played a little bit of everything. from linebacker to wide receiver and now cornerback. He's got blazing speed. He just hasn't been able to settle into one position where he's been overly effective. Here's a 3rd down and 5. 4-man line showed by Carolina. Little pass to the left side. That's going to be good for a 1st down. Nice designed play there. Jonathan Woods brought down by Marvin Sapp. 2 good running backs featured tonight. Ford, look at that, over 100 yards, nearly 7 yards a carry. Corey Boyd, a career high, 132 yards, 12 yards a carry. So they've both lived up to the hype in this ball game. So has Mike Davis, for that matter. The passing games for each team have struggled at times, and again, we've had a turnover flurry here as well as several penalties. That ball squirts out, but I think they're going to blow it down.
A lot of fresh faces on that South Carolina defensive line, doing a good job of getting penetration and forcing the running back to change his direction in the backfield. And we talked about it all night long. South Carolina's so deep on that defensive line. They show it here.
That's big old 97, one of those fresh faces you're talking about. 6'5", 327-pounder out of West Palm Beach, Florida. Addison Williams, a freshman defensive back, also into the game. He played some at Georgia last week. He's number 7. On 2nd and long, that gets the penalty, or the lost yardage back, rather. We'll set up a 3rd down and about 8 yards.
You mentioned Kendrick Ellis on that previous play for South Carolina. There was talk of him moving over to the offensive line earlier this week, and I guess they decided to keep him on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, Cleveland McCoy, you know, those numbers are not going to overwhelm anybody, but I'll tell you what, he's fighting hard out there. Obviously, the deck is stacked against him. He's done everything he can to keep his team in this ball game. He's got nothing to be ashamed of with his efforts so far tonight. And there you see, he's not tired. Look at that move. Cut back at the 47. He'll race out of bounds into Gamecock territory. Carlos Thomas there to meet him at the boundary. But Cleveland McCoy, you know, he's in his senior campaign. He's not going to get a chance to play against a team like South Carolina ever again, so he's going to do everything he can until the clock shows 0-0-0. 13 yards on that scamper.
Yeah, and a quarterback draw all the way where they had the linebackers spread out, and more defensive backs covering that spread offense left a nice hole for him up the middle.
Handoff up the left side. Gain of a couple. It'll be 2nd down and 8 yards to go. Ford with another carry for this Bulldog squad. South Carolina State, the favorite to win the MEAC. Under Buddy Pugh, they've tied for the MEAC crown once, and he won it outright a couple years ago. And they're favored now this year. There was a time where Hampton was favored almost every year to win the MEAC, but Buddy Pugh has helped change that.
They had a lot of success, just 3 MEAC losses in the last 2 years for South Carolina State.
It's Travell Jamison on the carry that time. Marvin Sapp, backup linebacker out of Jacksonville, South Carolina, the second cousin of Warren Sapp on the tackle. Buddy Pugh, he's having fun out there. I mean, as much fun as you can have down 35 points. He knew the story going in that he'd be a heavy underdog in this one, but this is still a great moment for this program, and these two teams will meet again on this very field in 2011. Hand off left side. Minus gain. That'll set up a 4th down and long. Make sure to catch the South Carolina and Georgia replays each week on CSS. See the Gamecocks battle South Carolina State at 12 noon on Sunday, and Georgia take on Western Carolina next Monday at 1 o'clock and 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's only on CSS. 4th down and 4 here from the 41. They'll go for it. Penalty flag, and it's going to be on State. And this will be the 13th penalty.
Offense number 32, 5-yard penalty.
Looks like Travell Jamison, the running back, moved a little bit early in the backfield for South Carolina State. Has Mike said 13th penalty on the evening for the Bulldogs. They were averaging 10 per ball game, and well, that was the story for them early. They had the early interception, but all the way down the field, had a chance maybe at an early touchdown, had to settle for a field goal after, I think, losing 7 yards after the pick.
So after the penalty, Buddy Pugh decides, let's just punt it away. Captain Munnerlyn and Kenny McKinley, the two guys back there to receive, trying to angle it toward the corner. Nice job getting it inside the 10 at the 8. Interesting numbers here when you look at Steve Spurrier and how he's had to kind of scale things back a little bit. At Florida, 392 rushes, 440 passes, take my word for it. Pretty balanced attack. And that's really what he is featured here at South Carolina. Everybody assumes that he is a passing first coach, but he does both equally well, and has had several successful running backs in his time. Tommy Beecher is back in the game at quarterback. That last carry was for Mike Davis, and this is why players love Steve Spurrier. If you're wondering why Mike Davis is still in the game at this point, Davis needed 6 yards for a first down. With that last run, he goes over 100, 16 carries for 102 yards, and that means we are also witnessing a little bit of history here with Boyd and Davis both over 100 yards. The last time South Carolina had two backs over 100, you got to go back to 2001. Derek Watson, 105, Andrew Pinnock, 106, and that was against the Vanderbilt Commodores. Taylor Rank and Brian Maddox seeing some action on this drive. Brian Maddox is the deep back right now. So all the reserves getting some time in here. This is Maddox. Maddox, nice, strong, powerful run off left tackle. Maddox at a TL Anderson High School, ran for over 4,200 yards in high school.
Had 50 touchdowns in his career. Quite a high school career for him. And playing with the big boys now. Saw him in the first ball game. Another penalty on the field now.
Well, that's the mandatory rule, Brad. At least one penalty per drive. One turnover every third drive. It's written into the contract before this game was played, apparently.
Clipping, number 83, offense. Half the distance to the goal. Replay first down.
Jeff Roberson might have some laryngitis by the time this game is over with the amount of calls he's had to make. Well, that'll back him up a ways.
Buddy Pugh and Steve Spurrier are hoping to get all these penalties and miscues out of their system as they return to conference play next week. Of course, South Carolina with a big matchup down in the Bayou at LSU. Hope to get all these hiccups out of the way before that ball game.
Take a look to the top of your screen. That is 83 Scott Spurrier into the game. 5'4" sophomore out of Leesburg, Virginia. And here's Taylor Rank. Gets pounded behind the line of scrimmage. Rank actually had a 100-yard rushing game last year. Clock ticking down, under 3 minutes to go, as you see. Gamecocks in control of this one, up by 5 touchdowns. Carolina going to improve to 3-0 for the first time since 2001. There's Scott Spurrier.
No pressure having that name, huh?
No, not at all. That's Maddox in motion to the top of your screen. On a 2nd and 17, Beecher going over the middle, tries to find 83, no, that's 93, Robert Pavlovic, one of 3 Canadians on this team, out of Ontario, but it pass falls incomplete over his hands.
Kind of funny to see that big of a man that wide open down the field, moving down the field. I thought it was a tackle eligible, went wrong the way the big man was rumbling down the field.
Pavlovic actually caught 4 catches last year, 2 and 05, but with the influx of talented tight ends under Coach Spurrier's program here, he's finding the field less and less. Here's a 3rd down 17. Beecher, quick pass to the right side. Modest gain on that play. And that is Mark Barnes again. So Barnes has 2 catches and 1 touchdown. And the Gamecocks will punt it away, what will likely be their final drive of the night. Again, Carolina looking to improve to 3-0. And next up will be the LSU Tigers in Death Valley. We'll find out the time of that game in all likelihood tomorrow. CBS exercising the 6-day window, which they're allowed to do a couple of times a year. Plenty of pressure as the punt gets off cleanly. Gamecock bounce, and surprised he picked that one up. Carlos Thomas drags him down there. So with less than 90 seconds left to go in this game, South Carolina State has a final shot. Brad, while we have a moment, let's talk about that LSU game. You know, I don't think anybody thought Carolina would have a chance in that one before they saw what they did against Georgia. Now, a lot of people are saying, hey, why not go to Baton Rouge? And frankly, I think if there's one kind of constant trend you can see over Spurrier's 3 years here, not only have they beaten good teams, but they've beaten them on the road.
Yeah, South Carolina has done very well under Coach Spurrier on the road. Remember the big win at Tennessee a couple of years ago. First time they'd won up there in, before you and I were born.
That's right.
As more Yellow Hankies dot the field.
And really should have had a win at Florida last year.
Exactly. They blocked a field goal attempt and
the extra
point. Yep.
It's Jarvis Moss. But it'll be a fun week in Baton Rouge, no question about it. It's been a fun night for Mike Davis.
Holding, offense, number 78, 10-yard penalty from the previous spot.
Over 100 yards, as you said. South Carolina this season hadn't had one of their backs go over 100 yards in a game. Now you have both of them over 100 yards. And a good night for the offensive line, especially in the second half. The Gamecock offensive line really did a good job to open up some holes, chew up some clock, and help put this game away, as this game was not put away after the first 2 quarters. South Carolina State hanging around.
And again, Davis along with Corey Boyd, both over the century mark. First time that's been done by a pair of Carolina backs in 6 years. Nothing doing on this run. Kenrick Ellis in on the tackle as he knifes through and makes the stop. Under a minute remaining now.
Going back to that thought on LSU, I don't know, that may be one of the toughest places to play. You talk about all the tough stadiums to play in South Carolina, but just everything down there makes it tough. They have great crowds there. The humidity usually down there. Yep. It's a raucous crowd. Of course, they've got a great program, and it's probably one of the toughest places to play. Probably the toughest place to play this season in the SEC.
And even tougher when it's at night, and that's what even makes it more significant whether or not CBS picks up the game. If they do, it's 3:30. No worries. If they don't, it's an ESPN game. It will be at night, and that's the way they like it down there in Bayou Country. This could be the last play of the game. I think State will let the clock tick down, and that should do it. The Gamecocks off to a 3-0 start. Final score from Williams-Brice Stadium, 38-3, as the two coaches shake hands. Brad Muller, overall not a pretty game, but when Carolina needed to, they took over.
Exactly. As we said, the offensive line did a great job in the second half. Both running backs did a great job. And now South Carolina has to get a little sharper as they go back into SEC play. Got to pick things up with their quarterbacks and hopefully find another receiver for that deep threat, take pressure off Kenny McKinley.
As always, it's been our pleasure to bring Gamecock football to you here on CSS. Our stat man is Brian Burnett. Our spotter is Eric the Intern. For Brad Muller, George Rogers, and everybody back in the truck, Mike Morgan saying so long from Williams-Brice Stadium, where the Gamecocks win it 38-3. We'll see you next time.